Welcome in to Stop the Takes. Dakota and Austin here live on YouTube, recapping Sunday's slate of NFL games. We had
Correct.
NFL football back, first week of the NFL. It was an exciting one, and we are going to dive right in to reviewing all of the games from Sunday. How are we feeling, man?
Feeling good after our initial stream went out. Discord crapped out on us, and it seems like we are back now, and hopefully for the long haul. So we are now going right into the 1 p.m. games. If you want to see our analysis on Thursday Night Football or Friday Night Football, it is up on the channel in that about 17-minute stream that went out.
Yep, technical difficulties over here. They
on
happen,
Discord's end though. We're blaming it on Discord,
not our technology. It was Discord being down. So shout out my wife in chat for us persevering through the difficulties,
Yes.
but we are here. All right, man. Let's dive right in to the Bucks and Falcons divisional matchup. That was at 1 o'clock. This was a good game. It's an exciting one. Dueling of Baker Mayfield and Michael Penix Jr. What were your thoughts on this one?
We'll start with winners, the Bucks. I thought the offensive line was a bit of a problem. It definitely wasn't as clean with Tristan Wirfs in at left tackle. And it was interesting. You texted me, it's like, dude, they put Graham Barton out at left tackle. Remember, Graham Barton's their starting center. Really played a little bit of everything at Duke in college. And they asked him to kick out the left tackle, which it was fascinating to me. And I have to see how he held up, but the offensive line in general wasn't as good. Baker got away with a few turnovers in this game, a few drop turnovers. But overall, I mean, in the clutch especially, Baker was just absolutely making some dimes, dude. That both touchdowns to Emeka Egbuka were absolutely incredible to me. So yeah, it was a classic Baker performance, really, Dakota. I mean, some volatility in there, some great throws, some throws that only a few quarterbacks can make, and then some rough ones as well.
Yeah, some rough ones in there as well. Yeah, Graham Barton. They haven't even actually they don't have his final grade, but he had a 60 pass blocking grade as of right now. So honestly, not great.
It's not great, but it is impressive him going from center to left tackle and still, being average.
And what was interesting is that they decided to just revamp the entire offensive line. So instead of just, replacing your left tackle, they moved Graham Barton to left tackle. And then they moved somebody else over to center from guard. And then they had a back guard in. So they just they shuffled the entire offensive line. And it showed because a Falcons team that has struggled to get pressure, they invested more on that defensive line. But they were getting pressure on Baker pretty consistently in that game.
They were.
Which is probably one of the highlights of the entire game for the Falcons, because it's something they've been desperately looking for a while now. And I noticed multiple plays that were Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., both rookies, made, whether it was getting pressure or having high motor. It was a play where Baker scrambled and Jalen Walker came from behind the play to make the tackle. So really stood out. The Falcons defense stood out to me because this Bucs offense is high powered. We got to see that immediately with the rookie and Emeka Egbuka, who scored 2 touchdowns in his debut, was almost unguardable in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really, really good, dude. I was really impressed with him. And it's interesting because we were kind of talking about that in the preseason, like Baker shouting him out, saying how, Emeka Egbuka's a stud. And sometimes you get that camp talk and you really can't trust it. You hear a lot of that kind of stuff in camp, but it looks like the Emeka Egbuka thing is on the money, and Emeka Egbuka is going to be a problem in that offense.
Absolutely, paired well with the with the existing receivers that are there. Chris Godwin's still not playing yet, but Mike Evans still had his 5 catches. Showed up a little bit after they signed him. One of the concerns I would have, which probably comes back to the offensive line play, is Bucky Irving never really got it going, and I'm a Bucky believer. I'm a Bucky believer.
He did have that nice touchdown, though. That effort on that touchdown was real nice.
He did on that reception. Yeah, the receiving touchdown was solid. Rushing wise, wasn't really there. I mean, he's still good, but a little bit worried without the offensive line shuffle. May have even hurt the run game more than pass protection. But overall, a classic Baker game. where he throws 3 touchdowns. Not a lot of yards from him, which is probably surprising, but he also had some plays in there where you're like, what are you doing, Baker? What are you
Yeah,
doing? Um,
exactly.
Penix, on the other hand, was pretty good in this as well. His PFF grade about middle of the pack. But I think the craziest part to me about this with Penix, he didn't have a big time throw.
Yeah,
And that's
I was
kind
a
of
little
what he did
surprised.
consistently. Yeah, in his minimal sample size last year.
Yeah, but I thought Penix was really good, man. He
He's
gave
efficient.
guys multiple opportunities on the final drive to win that game. I mean, if it weren't for Antoine Winfield, they would have got the game-winning touchdown. He made an absolutely incredible defensive play on that. And then I think the pass after was kind of on the money too, and the receiver just didn't get there. So I thought Penix had a couple good plays. He was extremely clutch. He had the really clutch rushing touchdown as well, which was on a 4th and goal. Like, you have to have it. It looked like Kyle Pitts, by the way, on that play, absolutely toasted his defender and was open. But Penix decided to run it, stretched it out, barely got across the goal line. But I think Penix is the guy, like their guy, man. Like, he's at the very least going to be average to above average,
Mhm.
which will play. But I think the high end potential is still there. There is something to, showing up in big moments, and he did that. He did that in this game. And he gave his team an opportunity. Unfortunately, though, they just fell short.
Yeah, and this game was kind of defined by missing kicks. That was a
Yep.
theme for the entire day, was missing extra points and missing field goals, because the game was only even in a situation for the Falcons to tie it because of a missed extra point by Tampa on their game-winning touchdown drive. But due to that missed extra point, they had a chance, and they got Young Ku into field goal range, and then he let the entire city of Atlanta down.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they have to move on. Sometimes, dude, sometimes kickers just break in the middle of their careers. And they can never be fixed. And I think Young Waku has hit that mark. Like, he has now been kind of a liability for this Falcons team. But it was only set up because the Bucks kicker missed a PAT, right? They would have had to have the
Exactly.
touchdown if
Yep.
McLaughlin didn't miss the PAT. So yeah, honestly, outside of like 50 and 60-yard field goals, NFL kickers this weekend were kind of abysmal.
Yeah, when we get into other games, they played a role in numerous games this weekend.
They did.
But yeah, any final thoughts on the Bucks or Falcons here, with the Bucks getting the early division lead?
No, but that is my final thought though, is the early division lead. Like, it does feel like it's going to be these two teams. The Panthers and Saints both looked not great. So it looks like it's going to be Falcons Bucks, and the Bucks getting this one at Atlanta is really, really crucial for this AFC or NFC South race.
Absolutely, yeah. And remember, the Falcons swept this last year, and it ended up not
Yep.
mattering because of how much things fell off a cliff for Kirk Cousins. But he did sweep the Bucks last year, so huge for the Bucks to go ahead and get that win on the road to start the season, and in a game where they did not play their best football, especially offensively, and they were still able to pull off the win. But starting off 1-0 in the NFC South. So now let's move on to another divisional matchup, Bengals Browns, which probably the worst game when it comes to kickers blowing it.
Yes.
This was like my prediction. The Browns covered, which was my bet. Well, when our picks in the preview, they did
Yep.
cover. They should have won. I mean,
They should have.
You can say like games
They
like
got
that a lot.
extremely unlucky throughout this entire game.
It's insanely unlucky, and in the end, their defense held the Bengals to 7 total yards in the second half.
First of all, got to give Joe Flacco credit, and listen, the Bengals won the game, but it didn't really feel like they won the game. So this one, we'll start with the Browns. We'll give the Browns credit on this one. Joe Flacco played good, man. Joe Flacco played really good. If you're a box score watcher, you don't think Joe Flacco played good because you see 2 interceptions. Those are 2 of the unluckiest picks of the weekend, Dakota. Both were catchable passes, in my opinion, or at the very least should not have resulted in an interception, because they both were hit the receiver's hands and batted up just for enough for a defender to catch it. So extremely unlucky. And then, yeah, the kicking for the Browns was just It was pathetic. I mean, it was again like it cost them the ball game. Um, on a positive note, though, Miles Garrett, good at football. Breaking news: he can play. Miles Garrett was absolutely dominant in this game, dude. I sent you the stunt that he pulled off in this
Oh my
game,
god.
and looked like he was literally right out of the stunt, dude. Was going full speed, 20 miles per hour, right at Joe Burrow's face, and annihilated him. By the way, and for the people out there that are still questioning pressures versus sacks, look at that play. You don't think that had an impact on the game? You don't think that impacted that play and the game going forward? Like, it wasn't a sack, but my lord, that definitely impacts the game, man. He absolutely annihilated Burrow on that play. He also had a sack in there. He was just dominant, man. He took over this game.
That play, the fact that that Joe Burrow stood there and still threw that ball is a miracle
Incredible.
because he got
Incredible.
walloped right to
Yes.
the face by Miles Garrett. And yeah, I mean, Miles Garrett had a wreaking absolute havoc series there where he ended up getting 2 sacks and then a third pressure that was a sack for somebody else. He just took the game over when he
He
needed
did.
to.
He really did.
Very much early on to that Defense Player of the Year candidacy. So, but yeah, overall, the Bengals offense did exactly what I mean. In the first half, they looked solid. They scored 14 points, but in the second half, they didn't do anything, and it was much of the same, man. It was
Yes.
much of the starting slow, can't finish offense from the Bengals that we've known for the last few years.
It's extremely disappointing, man, because remember they did so much to try to like have this not happen. They played them all throughout the preseason. Like, I mean, Joe Burrow was like in the second quarter of the second preseason game, and we're all doing like thinking like, what are they doing? It's because they were trying to prevent this, and it just didn't happen. And part of it is the offensive line, man. Like, and that's why when you have this Joe Burrow versus the Browns narrative, it's because of Miles Garrett, dude. Like, you don't have anyone on the offensive line that can stop them, man. So he takes these games over. And we saw it. That was the story of this game. He took the game over. And the Bengals got lucky enough to end this like week 1 losing streak. But, and they're going to be fine. I'm not like, it's not like their offense is broken. They're going to be okay. But they once again had the slow start, man. And luckily for them, I mean, Burrow in the post-game press conference was like, hey, we in the past we haven't won games like this, which is a good mindset for the quarterback to have. But dude, it took so much going in their favor in the kicking game and those unlucky interceptions to even have that be the case. But yeah, it is good for them because these early season woes caused them to get lower down in the divisional rankings and not be able to climb out of that. So,
and the week 1 loss last year to the Patriots at the end of the day is the reason they didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
So now you avoid that. But yeah, this game could probably be equated to the Broncos Titans game we'll cover later because the Bengals had 141 yards of offense. To the Browns 327, but the Browns 2 interceptions that were not Flacco's fault, but 2 turnovers the defense helped force, and then the missed kicks that were just handed on a platter to the Bengals, and then they were able to at least win the game because of that. But yeah, it's good for the Bengals to get that week 1 win, and hopefully they get it together and play like they normally do. But what a brutal loss for the Browns, where for all intents and purposes, you had the game won. And even on the game-winning drives, like you mentioned, the interceptions, unfortunately, our VFL, Cedric Tillman, had a horrible catch attempt that resulted in the game-losing interception. Again, if you look at the box score, you blame Flacco for how the game ended. It's not his fault.
It's so brutal, man, because it's like that should be a catch to continue the drive, the game-winning drive. Now, the first one was like it was a way harder catch to make, and it was just really unfortunate that it just bounced up so far in the air. But yeah, man, this is why you cannot box score watch, people. You gotta at least look at the highlights to see what happened because it's interesting, dude. Flacco in this Kevin Stefanski offense, it's going to be interesting because they are void of talent. It's not like they have a ton of talent on this team, but man, old man Flacco, dude, he looks good, dude. He looks good once again in this Stefanski offense.
And one thing I will say, and again, it would have been had one game won't decide your season, but had the Browns won this, I think the outlook and the motivation and everything goes a different direction. Because one thing that stood out were the rookies. The running game wasn't great for the Browns in general. The Bengals' defensive line actually looked pretty good. Shamar Stewart, we know he's a good run defender, and that helped out in terms of stopping the run. But these rookies, Dylan Sampson in the passing game especially, made numerous plays.
Yep.
Harold Fannin was just a massive part of the offensive game plan, taking wildcat snaps to lining up in the slot, fully outside, in line as a tight end. And then defensively, got to shout out Carson Schwessinger, who had a play where he clocked Chase Brown, like rocked him.
And Schwessinger, dude, he was playing really well in the preseason. And remember this like draft class, this past draft class, it was like a 2 linebacker draft class, and a lot of people thought Schwessinger had a chance to sneak into the first round.
Yep.
And people kind of questioned the Browns, why are you taking a linebacker with that, really nice second round pick, which was the first pick of the second round. But I mean, it's looking like it's going to pay off, man. He's elite in coverage. And it looks like they found a guy that can be a star on defense.
Yeah. So all in all, for Browns fans, heartbreaking loss, but there is definitely positive to take of this. And the season outlook, it's got to be a little bit different with how things went in this game. And those young players looking like whatever the regime looks like going forward from a quarterback perspective or whatever, got some talent there to work with. So that's exciting.
Could you imagine if they had Baker Mayfield at quarterback?
Oh, man. Way to rub salt in the wound. Rub salt in the wound. Oh, poor Browns fans. So, all right, let's move on to, briefly covering one of the annihilations of the weekend.
Speaking of poor fans, Miami fans.
Poor fans, Miami fans. This game from start to finish was pure and utter domination from the Colts and old Danny Dimes.
Yeah, man. I'll say it's like it's hard. It's very hard to the credit pie in this one is difficult. I will say, offensively, the Colts offense, I think it was more so the Colts looking good on offense, more so than the Miami being bad on defense, even though their back end isn't great. Their secondary is not great. I told you before the show, the Colts offense, they scored on every drive. I'm sure everyone saw that stat from the weekend. It looked like they had a scripted game plan throughout the entire game. Remember, a script is usually just the first drive, first 15 plays. This is the script. We'll stick to it until we can't. It felt like this entire game was scripted, man. Everything was open. No matter who Danny Dimes was throwing to, it was open. And he was making the throws. He looked really good, man. He looked really good. He should have had another touchdown to Tyler Warren. That was a horrible PI. That was a missed call.
It was
and that's another guy that stood out, man. Tyler Warren. As a Colts fan, I am extremely excited about the potential of Tyler Warren. He immediately just looked like a difference maker, man. Immediately, and it's really impressive for a rookie to stand out that way in his NFL debut, because it's just not common. It's just not common for a guy coming from college, going into an NFL setting and immediately standing out, but he did. And they were using him in multiple ways, man. They had a 3rd and short, I believe, where they handed it off to him. Yep. He got like a 3-yard carry with that, which is, that speaks to Steichen and his just play calling ability and willing to do that with Warren, which did a little bit of that at Penn State. He did I believe he was the quarterback sneak guy at Penn State, right? He was always doing their quarterback sneaks. So yeah, it's I think the Colts offense, I give them full credit, man. They looked really, really good. Now, defensively, I think it was more too in the Dolphins, man. They looked awful.
Yeah. On the offensive side, the Colts, the Dolphins defense we were saying was questionable going into it, but it's different when an offense looks this methodical and ability to just consistently get first downs. Went 4 for 4 in the first half, drives for scores, went 7 for 7 in the game, which was record breaking basically. And Danny Dimes was just efficient, man. He was dropping some dimes. I mean, he had multiple throws in there that were impressive. And he still used his legs to be able to extend drives. And yeah, the Warren thing is crazy because I'm pretty sure the first target of the game went to Tyler Warren, and they got him involved. Steichen obviously loves the dude because he was clearly a pivotal part of the game plan And they were feeding him, and every time he got the ball in his hands, man, he looked
Making guys
good.
miss.
He finished with the most catches on the team. Like the athleticism, his ability to just be a playmaker stood out immediately, which is something fantastic. The other thing I want to shout out offensively for the Colts is Jonathan Taylor still looks good.
He really
played
does
very well too.
He did, man. And yeah, exactly. And dude, all the playmakers were getting involved. Alec Pierce, that was Daniel Jones' best throw in the game, was the one to Alec Pierce.
Deep corner.
Exactly. He looked good. AD Mitchell was finally making some plays and was finally on the page with the quarterback. And the last thing I'll say, because I'm a Colts fan, I don't want to go too overboard here, but where are the AR truthers, man? Where are y'all at? Because there was a good portion of our fan base which really felt like starting Daniel Jones was like a federal offense, man. Like you need to go to prison for doing so. I never thought it was that bad. I mean, when we first talked about the QB competition on our channel, dude, I thought Daniel Jones would win the competition because he's a better he's shown better football play in the NFL than AR has at this point. And yeah, I'm just curious where y'all are at, man. Where are y'all at after week 1?
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Jones looked phenomenal, and the offense. It's something that you and I, a lot of people were very low on the Colts when Daniel Jones got put as a starter, and it's crazy to me because we had talked about it numerous times that the baseline for this offense is pretty high in terms of the talent on it, and it's an underrated team. And I think immediately Steichen proved that with Daniel Jones at the helm. This team overall looked really good. And on the Dolphins side, from an offensive perspective, Tua was abysmal. He was abysmal. He had like a 52 passing grade, 53 passing grade, could not stop throwing the ball to the defense. He had 4 turnover-worthy plays, had a fumble and 2 picks. One of the picks, both were terrible, but the Latu one was like he almost had to go out of his way to throw it to Latu, who had dropped back in coverage. It was terrible.
It was awful. And I mean, the first one was an overthrow too that looked like it could have even been a completion. Two was just bad, man. And that was one of the big offseason storylines, all right. It was like Miami and the vibes, and it feels like it's just all going downhill. And it literally played right into that week 1, man. It was just like, I don't know how you recover from it. It seems like I watched Mike McDaniel's press conference. He looks like he knows it's done. It kind of should be, right? It kind of should be. It feels like the experiment's over. It feels like Tyreek Hill is going to be on the move at some point during the year. They just couldn't do anything. The only positive out of Miami's offense was Patrick Paul, man, their left tackle. Or I believe he's on the left side. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong about that. Patrick Paul looked really, really good, which was a huge question mark for them. But it honestly makes the offensive performance worse because Miami's offensive line wasn't just like completely abysmal, right? Like they weren't just, hemorrhaging pressure from the outside. So it kind of like makes the performance even worse in that sense because it's like Tua, you had the blocking, but you just, like you said, just handing it right to the defense, man. So, and I gotta say, man, my preseason Tua ranking ain't looking so bad, Miami fans.
It's really not, man, and it's rough because Patrick Paul was the 5th highest graded offensive lineman in general in week 1, which is a great sign for Dolphins fans to be excited about because that was a big question mark of replacing Teron Armstead. So they may be in good shape there. The other guy I will shout out on the offense that looked good was Devon Achane. He actually. The touchdown, which was a wild play call, too.
Yeah,
destroyed
Trevor.
A swing route on 4th and goal from the 10-yard line.
I mean, if Ward makes that play, that's fourth. That was 4th down. If Ward makes that play, it's a turnover on downs, man. It was a terrible play call.
Awful play call.
Yeah, it was terrible. I agree. I thought about that as well, and I was like, dang. But Achane made it happen, man.
Yeah, and that's where the positivity comes from. Achane looking good there. I mean, he was averaging, almost 8 yards a carry, and then he, had the one receiving touchdown on that play. So that was a positive. But one positive for the Colts, which is a negative for the Dolphins from the interior perspective. But DeForest Buckner is one of those players where people don't watch defensive tackles a ton in general. Mm-hmm. But he's the type of guy when you watch him, you will be like, he's underrated, and he is. I mean, there was numerous times in this game where he ate. where he blew up that interior offensive line and kind of single-handedly shut down a play. He had one where, he's not getting a sack off of this, but he had an immediate pressure up the middle that resulted in an incomplete pass where Tua had to just panic. One thing that is also negative for the Dolphins, where again, I don't see how this, and I'm sorry, but like the season's looking bleak because
it is, man.
James
It
Daniels
really
goes
is.
down with an injury that was already a thin offensive line. Storm Duck had an injury in the secondary, and then Jalen Waddle had a shoulder thing that happened. So, man, you were thin everywhere already, and to have some injuries, the secondary and offensive line specifically were two places we called out before the season, and you immediately have an injury in both. That's not good.
Yeah, and like you said, the interior of the line is still an issue. The secondary was a problem all game. It really does feel like it's the Miami thing's done. Like it's reset time. You're probably looking at a new coach and a new quarterback. And I'm not calling for anyone's job, but it would be disingenuous if we sat up here and said, oh, just give him more time. Like, no, it kind of feels done because it was already a team not built to win in January. And now it's like,
right,
with the vibes and everything, I think it's time to move on, man. It's time to look ahead for Miami fans.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is. But the Colts, a lot of positive takeaway from this. The Colts immediately look like they'll be contending for that AFC South title in a division that looks interesting based on how Week 1 went. But yeah, let's move on now to the Raiders. Take home the W in New England. Pete Carroll and Mike Vrabel's debuts was an interesting matchup. This was a good game in general. But the Pete Carroll and Geno Smith get it done.
Dude, listen, we were right about the Raiders, man. This is going to be a feisty ball. Like you cannot chalk up the Raiders to a win all season long. And I know it was the Patriots, and it's kind of hard to, it's still kind of hard to know what these teams are after this game. But dude, people have to realize how good Geno Smith has been since becoming a starter again with Seattle, dude. He is just consistent. One of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL. Is he elite? No, but he is one of the most consistent good starters in the league. And it continued, man. Like he linked up with this guy, Pete Carroll, and he played well. And in an offense with, it's not a lot of talent. It's just a bunch of guys. And, there's some intriguing guys like our boy Dante Thornton and Besh. Yeah. Jack Besh looked, really good in this game. Like there's intriguing playmakers, but it's still not a very talented roster overall. But Geno's making it happen, dude. Also have to shout out Genty. Genty had a couple runs that's like, oh, that's Genty. You know what I'm saying? His touchdown run, it's like this is what he did in college. He's just very tough to tackle. So I think he's going to be really, really good going forward. So I think the Raiders fans should be excited.
Yeah, they have a lot to be excited about. Genty, the one thing that did stand out to me, unfortunately for Genty, is another thing we were worried about. That was the offensive line let him down numerous times. There was, towards the end of the game when they were trying to run it out, there was one where Genty got up clear, like on the ground. He kind of like hit the ground, and you could clearly see he was frustrated because he wasn't given a chance, man. But he still was looking like Genty, breaking tackles, turning negative plays into a 2-yard gain, which was a massive positive. But man, Geno Smith was the highlight of this, and
I know, man.
He letting Geno sling it's like when the let Russ cook thing happened, but now with Geno, it's been so fun. He had 2 turnover-worthy plays in this, but he also had 2 big-time throws. He was the 7th highest graded quarterback passing wise in Week 1 so far. And he had the first drive was just textbook by the Raiders. Mm-hmm. I know scripted, but they looked phenomenal with the dot from Geno to Tucker. And overall, man, he was slinging that thing.
He really was, dude. I mean, if you look, I believe he was either first or second in yards per attempt. I'm trying to quickly look at it now, but I know it was either first or second yards per attempt on the game or in the week. Which is obviously a very important number for quarterbacks. So yeah, man, I'm just intrigued. I'm intrigued with the Raiders. They're going to be a fun team. I hope Brock Bowers is healthy. That's one of the biggest storylines coming out of this game, Dakota, is Brock Bowers' health. He kind of looked banged up the whole game, but then it looked like he tweaked something in the game. Dude, but listen, Brock Bowers is an absolute superstar, man. An absolute superstar. That's why his health is so critical to this Raiders offense. And I just got everyone in the AFC West just be wary, man. Like, this is not a team that's laying down. They're going to be looking to compete every week because, I mean, and again, it's not a team that's super, super talented. But with Geno and Brock Bowers and Pete Carroll, it's an interesting out.
It really is. And yeah, Brock Bowers, even with the limited time due to the injury, 5 for 103, which is ridiculous. It was worth noting Michael Mayer, who was their second round pick
Looked
a couple
good.
Years ago, looked good in relief. So they have
Yes.
2 tight ends that they can definitely rely on for Geno. And he likes his tight ends, which is great. Dante Thornton's big catch was an interesting one because it was a pretty bad underthrow on Geno's part. He had burnt the corner for what should have been a touchdown, but Geno had to throw it off platform a little bit, if I remember correctly. And Dante Thornton adjusted perfectly to make that catch. And then, looking at the other side, the Patriots offense was a little hit or miss. They didn't really give Travion Henderson any carries, and on his few, he did look solid, which is shocking to me. They gave Ramondre Moore, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Kayshon Boutte had a really good game, which is good to see from him. And Drake May overall did. His interception was a little bad. That float, he kind of floated one. That was a little unfortunate, but overall, he still finishes the 12th highest graded passing grade. He played solid. I think the environment of this game is also worth noting, right? This was a rain game for most of it. It was bad conditions. So
yeah, dude, honestly, I didn't come away thinking the Patriots are going to be awful, but I do think they are still a year away. I think they are a year away. I thought the playmakers were pretty good. Like Diggs was making some plays. And even Kayshon Boutte was out there making some plays, which I was honestly surprised to see how much he did play in this game. Was actually their highest graded player, which is kind of interesting from PFF. But I think Drake May is still good. But he does have those really bad plays in there. He has the occasional really rough play. So that's unfortunate. But, again, this roster is probably a season away from competing. I did pick them to make the playoffs, which, not feeling great about that pick through week 1. But they do have 2 free wins against the Dolphins this year. So they got that to look forward to.
That's true. Defensively, I will say, the Patriots did look better, right? I mean, with Vrabel being there immediately, you can notice a difference. And Harold Landry actually played pretty well. He had a low pass rushing grade, but had 8 pressures. Worth noting, Milton Williams, who the big sign for the Patriots, he had 4 pressures in this game and actually had a really good pass rushing grade as well. So that signing looking pretty good in week 1 for them. So that's something to look forward to as well on the defensive side. But yeah, overall, I think I left this game. It was raining, so it's hard to say. But I left this game thinking, okay, from both of these teams, they're gonna be better. They're going to be better,
and that's why they're hard. This game's hard to evaluate, dude, because it's like they were both kind of in the same spot, right? Like they have this coach that should make them very competitive. They have intriguing quarterbacks. We don't know if the talent's great overall in the roster. But maybe they're both good, and this is just like a really good win for the Raiders. We just don't know since it's week 1, and we'll know more as we go. But I think the Patriots are a year away, and I think the Raiders are going to be one of the feistiest teams in the league this year.
Oh, yeah. With Pete Carroll at the helm, it's immediately evident this football team is better, even with the roster staying the same. Also, we're shouting at the guys who've already been there. Max Crosby looked like Max Crosby. He was wreaking havoc out there on the edge. Yeah, he had numerous pressures as well. But yeah, overall, I'm excited to watch both these teams. That's the thing I'm leaving with saying. And you did not say this about either of them last year, but I'm excited to watch both of these teams this year. And yeah, back to the Geno thing, just because I found this stat that I had bookmarked, but he had a 0.38 EPA per play and a 4.4, which for people that don't know, that is, it's expected points added. It's this advanced metrics of basically, on a play-by-play basis, how much are you actually adding to the potential of the scoring? And a 0.38 EPA per play is ridiculous. That's phenomenal. So Geno played incredible, even in the rain, with the new weapons and everything. So a lot to be excited about for the Raiders and for the Patriots, for sure.
And put some respect on Geno, man. Put some respect on Geno.
All right, let's move on now to the revenge game. which was one of the best games
One
this
of the best
weekend.
games, yes.
Absolute, one of the best games in recent memory, to be honest. This game was phenomenal.
It
A
was.
game that I think everybody would have voted as the most likely to be a 13-10 game ends up being one of the second highest scoring game of the entire weekend. With the Steelers beating the Jets. Aaron Rodgers takes down his former team with Justin Fields facing his former team 34-32 in honestly heartbreaking fashion for the Jets.
It was pretty heartbreaking. Another game that we completely whiffed on the preview, man. I did not expect this to be a offensive game at all. To be completely honest with you, I thought this was kind of like a defensive slugfest here. But it ended up, your camera keeps going out. I don't know what's going on, but we'll fight through. We'll fight through the technical difficulties.
Here's the same thing, man.
It's the technical difficulties. We're fighting through. Hey, the connection's still here, so we're gonna push through. But yeah, I was shocked, dude. I was shocked by both the quarterbacks' performances, specifically Fields. Fields was so good that it's like, okay, now we have to put him on, QB rehabilitation watch, right? Like that Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, who we just got done talking about, Baker Mayfield, if you want to throw him in there, watch, because Fields was really, really good in this game. And he looked like a different player, man. He was going to more of his checkdowns. He was throwing stuff that was more over the middle, which he just never did as a young player. He seemed like he was trusting his eyes again, was accurate, and he still brings a ton in the run game. So I was kind of gutted for him that they had to lose this game, because I mean, it's also a revenge game for him, right? We're talking about the Rodgers revenge. It was also the Justin Fields revenge game. So yeah, it was kind of unfortunate that a team had to lose this game. Aaron Rodgers, I thought, dude, the number one thing that stood out to me with Rodgers was he played within Arthur Smith's system. Like he let Arthur Smith do his thing, which worked, by the way. Whether, we can get into was the 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, was that really indicative of his performance? Maybe not completely, but to me, it doesn't really matter if your offense is putting up 34 points. Aaron Rodgers looked really good within this system. And if he lets Arthur Smith coach him, man, it's an intriguing team and an intriguing offense.
It really is. And you're right. I mean, to be honest, we talked about it a little bit with the Steelers have pretty much just been a game manager away, right? It's kind of like the 49ers back in the Alex Smith days, where if you just, and really even just under Shanahan in general, if you just put somebody who can manage the game and not screw up consistently, the team's going to be fine. And it showed immediately. DK looked good. He did have a drop in there that was pretty bad, but he was also making plays when he got the ball in his hands. But you're completely right. Arthur Smith probably deserves the most credit for this win, in my opinion. He schemed a fantastic game plan for the Steelers offense against this Jets defense.
Wide open receivers everywhere, dude.
Wide open. And that's the thing. And that's why, people will say what they will about PFF, but that's just why Aaron Rodgers' grade's not that good, is because he didn't make any big time throws. He had one turnover where they went in there. He didn't have to, though. That's the thing. And that's the perfect situation to put him in. Don't put your 40-year-old quarterback in a situation where he has to do that.
Who can't move like he used to, man. He can't move like he used to. And I'm kind of surprised that it's probably because the guy was wide open, but that I think his last touchdown was probably potentially a big time throw to me. It was pretty nice, but I mean, but again, it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, we're nitpicking here. What I was disappointed with the Steelers, since we're talking about the winner first, is the defense. I was very disappointed with the defense, because we thought this was going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. And it's not like we came into this game thinking, oh, this Jets team is going to have some high powered offense. So that's something to watch going forward. I think they'll be okay. The secondary was the biggest issue, though. The secondary wasn't great. The pass rush was fine. Alex Highsmith was doing his thing. TJ Watt kind of got shut down by Mimbu. Got to give Mimbu credit, man, for the Jets. Rookie tackle, right tackle, was phenomenal in this game. Absolutely phenomenal. Pancaked TJ Watt a couple times, dude. Could you believe that? I sent you that video on Twitter, Dakota. It was a interesting game for him, but yeah. Interested to see how the Steelers offense evolves over the year.
Absolutely. And I mean, they looked solid, and and Aaron Rodgers did enough. And flipping back to the other side, which you were just touching on, the Steelers led in week 1 so far. They had a 44% pressure rate. They generated pressure on 44% of dropbacks. So that puts into perspective the game that Justin Fields had, because he did play phenomenal. He finished as the second highest graded passer by PFF. And that's where I hate being like biased in any of this or like feeling bad for more than one or the other, but I feel horrible for Justin Fields because he played a fantastic game in a game where it's obvious that the lack of pass catchers will probably catch up to the Jets. We're outside of Garrett Wilson. They're thin there.
Yeah.
But Justin Fields' ability on his legs, dude. I mean, him running the ball is phenomenal consistently. But this may have been his best game, and ended up losing. And the reason he lost was because of a fumble that was by the backup kick returner. So the returner gets hurt, backup comes in and fumbles after they were up 2 scores. So they were up 2 scores. The Steelers score to make it a 1-score game, and then he fumbles on the subsequent quick kickoff, and then he still managed to go down and score a touchdown, take the lead back. And then on the last drive, I think he made the right decision on that 4th down to throw it out to Garrett Wilson, and Jalen Ramsey just blows him up to make the incompletion. But again, just still the ability to make that play was phenomenal by Fields, and just a heartbreaking way for the Jets to start the season.
It also took Boswell hitting like a 60-yard kick. Got to shout out him, but
true.
It is unfortunate seeing special teams have such an impact on a game when you really just don't want to screw special teams up. So also got to shout out Breece Hall, man. Breece Hall looked explosive in this game, dude. This is the best I've seen Breece Hall look in quite some time. So yeah, it was just a lot of guys that surprised. Fashanu was pretty disappointing. That's where most of that pressure was coming from Fields, because like I was saying, Mimbu was really, really good, but Fashanu kind of looked rough out there. Highsmith was kind of whipping him pretty bad. So that's something to watch out for. But hey, if you hit on one of the 2 tackles over the last 2 years, and you got to be happy with that. And Fashanu has shown good play before. This is a really tough assignment. That even adds to Mimbu's performance, because this is one of the best defensive lines, one of the best pass rush rotations in the NFL. So the fact that Mimbu could play as well as he did says a lot. And I think Fashanu could also bounce back for that fact as well.
For sure. I'm going to rapid fire some of the notes that I took that I didn't get to touch on, but just things that stood out that were funny. One of the first things was Aaron Rodgers' first drop back. He got sacked by Quinnen Williams, and I felt like a little bit of a revenge thing. Immediately, Aaron Rodgers' comments after this game, he clearly wanted to win this and clearly did not enjoy his time in New York or how it ended.
And so he gets the revenge. Very clear.
He made, as he does in true fashion consistently, he made that very clear, and he got his revenge. So, one other thing for the Steelers that's exciting is Calvin Austin had a really good catch in this game and actually looked pretty solid. So it'd be nice to see Calvin Austin finally break out, a guy that, going into year 3 or 4 now, kind of waiting for him to get it together. It'd be nice to see him put it fully together. And then one thing the Jets did in this game that was pretty interesting, they lined up in like 21 or 22 personnel a few times, where they had either 2 running backs and a tight end or 2 running backs and 2 tight ends, where they would have Braylon Allen and Breece Hall, or like Isaiah Davis and Breece Hall out there. And I love that because of the Fields aspect of rushing. Throwing 2 running backs out there with a running quarterback is a good scheme, in my opinion, for this offense.
And Braylon Allen can play too, man. They have a good running back duo. So yeah, it's kind of so far through, which it's week 1. We're not going to overreact to anything, but so far through week 1, one of the biggest surprises is this Jets offense against what we thought was going to be a top 5 defense. One last thing for the Steelers that's not a positive. Broderick Jones kind of have to pull the plug on that. He looks really, really rough. I had his grade pulled up here. I'll pull it up once again, but yeah, he looked really rough in this game. And yeah, that's a problem with a 40-year-old at quarterback.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of that, one thing we got to touch on, or at least mention, is how chippy this game was. And I think that comes back to the Rodgers stuff of both of these locker rooms are invested in this now. And Jalen Ramsey was chirping. There was multiple times where they had to be split up. It was kind of nonstop them going at each other's throats, which was exciting to watch, to be honest,
Yeah,
as
it
a neutral
was.
party.
Dude, it was a fun game. It was a fun game.
It
But you're
was so
right.
good.
They ended up having like a brawl in the middle of the game.
Yep.
Going back to Broderick Jones to throw salt in the wound, he gave up 3 sacks, 4 pressures, had a 33.5 pass blocking grade from PFF. Yeah, he's a huge problem.
Yeah, and Will McDonald looked pretty solid in this. On him a few times.
Yeah, on
so good to
Broderick
see
Jones.
the first round pick, the former first round pick, making some plays out there. But yeah, what a game! This was one of the best games of the Sunday slate. But yeah, a heartbreaker for the Jets. But Steelers offense, I think, is a lot to take home from this, and in terms of what you can be excited about in terms of the ceiling for this team.
Yes, exactly, dude. I was just thinking that because if you think about it, I still think their defense has top potential defense in them.
Right.
The question was, what's the ceiling of this offense? Can this offense actually, hold up their end of the bargain? If they can, week after week, then all of a sudden, I mean, the Steelers are a live threat in the AFC.
Absolutely. And then one last thing before we move on, just rookie watch, because we've kind of done that. Caleb Johnson had 1 carry in this game, which is notable. Jalen Warren got it, and Kenneth Gatewell got it. So the Caleb Johnson stock, especially for fantasy, not great, man.
Yeah.
Put him on. If too late, put him on taxi. I hope he was already there in the dynasty leagues. But all right, let's move on now to I don't want to call. I'm not gonna be mean about this game, but the Cardinals beat the Saints.
Yeah, nobody was watching this.
20-13. I was going to say snooze fest, but it got exciting at the end. And honestly, Spencer Rattler, the game ends by Spencer Rattler actually having a beautiful throw that was dropped for a chance to tie the game up on the last drive.
I think we have to start there, man. Like, that was brutal. I mean, like you said, it was 2013. They have a chance to go drive down and win it. And honestly, Rattler wasn't bad in this game, man. He really did
11th highest graded passer.
Which is weird. It's weird. It's not something that was expected. It was not something that was expected. And like you said, put it on the money to end the game, and it was dropped. It was really everything around Spencer Rattler that was letting him down, if we're just being fair about it. And then from the Cardinals' perspective, man, they were, in my opinion, they were a little disappointing. I would have liked to see their offense do more against the unit that we thought they would be able to kind of take advantage of. I mean, the Saints defense is just not great on paper. So I kind of expected Kyler and Marvin Harrison to be able to come out and look good week 1. And they just did enough, if you want to say it like that, even though they really kind of got bailed out in the end. So, I was not super impressed with the Cardinals offensively.
No, I was not either. That was kind of my early notes from watching this. It's just sloppy again, man. Like the offense from the Cardinals, Kyler had missed throws. There were penalties that were killing drives. He's taking sacks. The offensive line didn't play that bad, but Kyler still has a tendency to try to evade, and he didn't have any turnover-worthy plays, but they had 5 sacks, and I think a few of those are on Kyler. And I would have liked to have seen that connection. Marvin had 5 for 71 and a touchdown, but it still just wasn't really there yet, man. And the thing that we pointed out a few times is the lack of identifying a second wide receiver on this team. Outside of Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, who had 5 and 6 catches, as you would expect, only one person had double-digit catches, and it's James Conner. That's not good. You need another wide receiver to be a legitimate option here. And they had a handful of receivers have 1 catch each, and it's going to be a problem. It is going to be a problem. And I think it's hurting Marvin Harrison Jr.'s ability to break out when a lot of defenses are like, okay, we got Trey McBride we need to worry about wherever he lines up. And then we just worry about MHJ. We're probably good. Probably good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And really, I think since they do lack the pass catchers, it's going to take Kyler elevating. It's going to take Kyler elevating, doing more in the run game. It's always felt like, and I know he's small, but he is super shifty. It always feels like there's, more left on the table with his running ability, in my opinion. One positive note for the Cardinals offense, Paris Johnson looked really good pass blocking. And again, and it's not like their interior was fantastic, but it's like, why are you taking so many sacks? A lot of that is Kyler trying to extend plays and taking sacks because of it. And then from the Saints perspective, just to be positive, it didn't look awful. It didn't look completely awful. You still only put up 13 or whatever. One of the one of the most noteworthy plays was them trying to get Chris Olave absolutely killed. I mean, that was bad
that
to
poor
watch,
man.
That was rough to watch. And notable Will Johnson made that
Will
hit.
Johnson laid the
Rookie Will
boom.
Johnson. And remember, Dakota, I sent you a clip in the offseason of him just bodying Marvin Harrison Jr. in practice. That's Will Johnson's game, dude. He is going to play physical, man. And I absolutely love that. So excited about that for the Cardinals. But what are you doing if you're the Saints, man? Like, what are you doing, bro? You're trying to get Chris Olave killed out here.
So it resulted in Olave going to the medical tent twice, man. Week 1, and he visited the tent twice. I'm sorry, and it sucks, man. Chris Olave has had the potential to be really good, and he had 7 for 54 even through all of that. But man, he is not going to last in this league if they keep throwing him hospital balls and situations to ask him to get clocked. And that hit by Will Johnson was insane. I mean, he showed this game. He looked good. Will Johnson looked like he should have been the first round pick. Injuries, concerns aside, he looked really good overall.
90.3 coverage grade. I'm just seeing that. I mean, Will Johnson looks like he's gonna listen, dude. We were talking all draft, top 10 talent.
Take him there. Don't overthink this. Take the man.
And he's playing week 1. It's not like the injury impacted his ability to play at all. Yeah, that's just seems like it's gonna end. And remember, they don't even have. See, that's one thing. I'll be positive with the Cardinals on defense because they don't even have Walter Nolan in this game, dude. Nope. Like their top draft pick from this upcoming draft. So once again, man, their defense, dude, and now it has talent. Now you actually add talent to it. It looks like their defense could actually be a really good unit.
Yeah, one thing I would say is a little unfortunate for them is Sweat didn't really show up in this game a ton. He didn't make a massive impact in it. You would like to see him, with the signing and everything, getting him, getting more out of him, to be honest. But yeah, overall, I mean, this game ended up being more interesting than I thought it would. I think than everybody thought it would. And yeah, on the Cardinals' positive notes as well, Trey Benson had a 52-yard run in there that looked ridiculous. Yes. He looked good. He looked ready to take the starting job away from James Conner, who also had a ridiculous stiff arm on a play that didn't count. Got to give him his credit for that. He bodied a dude on a play that got called back. But man, Trey Benson looked, the second-year guy out of Florida State looked good.
And he was hurt all last year, right? I think he was pretty much
he missed
out
most of the year.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that that is interesting. It's at least going to be a good stable. But like you said, I mean, Connor's getting up there in age, so at some point it's going to be Trey Benson's job
for sure. And then on the Saints side, I mean, I don't want to get too excited about things because you're in a rebuild to kind of tank year almost. But man, Rattler did actually play pretty well. He played shockingly well.
He really
and against
did.
Cardinals defense is not great on paper consistently, but Gannon has always made that unit last year overperform that. He's a good defensive coach, so to go out there and perform well against them is impressive for old Rattler.
Yeah, it is impressive from Rattler, and it kind of puts the Saints in an awkward position, Dakota, because I still don't think they're going to win very many games, right? They're not going to win with Rattler. So there is a scenario, dude, where they never even play their second-round pick from this past season, which I get, taking shots on quarterback, but it feels bad not even throwing him out there at any point, which, again, it's going to take Rattler continuing to play well. I mean, who knows? You just never know. But if that scenario takes place, I mean, they're probably still going to be drafting a quarterback next year, and Shuck might not even ever get a chance to play.
These next 3 weeks, we'll find out because they get the 49ers at home next week. Then they go to Seattle and then to Buffalo. So they're in for a little rough stretch for the Saints there, man.
Yeah, sounds like an 0-3 stretch.
Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, this ended up being a good game. And, Spencer Rattler did have an incredible throw at the end there that could have given him a chance to tie it. But Cardinals take the win on the road and start off 1-0 with a 20-13 victory. So let's move on now to a game that got rain delayed and basically was a part of the 4 o'clock window. Jags Panthers.
Another snooze
This
fest.
this was because man, it was. This is where box score watching could be a problem. This is where box score watching could be a problem because the Jags passing game specifically was not very good. Trevor Lawrence didn't play particularly well. Bryce Young, grading wise, graded better than I thought he would from PFF, but also just did not. He did not look like the same Bryce that ended last year, which is concerning.
It's extremely concerning, dude. And I told you after the game, listen, I think we're allowed overreaction to Bryce Young because we have a lot of evidence at this point that he was really bad to start his career. A year and a half of being really, really bad. And then the second half of last season, which was and listen, I believe in what PFF does. A lot of people will disagree with us. I believe he was outplaying his box score at the end of last year. I still believe that. And he was really good at some points last year. But now coming into this year, it once again is reverting back to more looking like rookie Bryce Young. And at this point, it feels like at best, he's a guy who can occasionally give you a really good game, but for the most part is going to be average at best, a lot of the time below average. And again, at points he looks overwhelmed, which is a problem. And I will say, the Panthers' offensive line did not look good to me. I'll have to look into some of the advanced stuff, but just watching the game, it didn't look good. It did not look like a good unit, which is interesting. We may have had some Panthers fans telling us that was a top 5 unit, and they do have an injury on it to their tackle, which is crucial. But it still overall did not look like a good offensive line in this game. And yeah, man, it was the battle of the first overall picks. But like you said, Trevor really didn't stand out either. Like Trevor really wasn't standing out either. Like it just felt like it was kind of sad, man. It was like 2 guys that were ultra talented coming out of college and neither one impressed.
No, and to your point on the offensive line, they had 2 guys grade well, pass blocking, 1 grade okay, 2 grade abysmally with a 38 and 27. That's going to bring down your overall offensive line. That's not creeping back towards average with that.
Not at all.
It's not getting it
not
done.
At all.
It's not getting it done.
And it's damn sure not a top 10 offensive line in the NFL.
No, it's just not, man. It's not. And yeah, this game was just defined by unfortunate quarterback play by 2 guys that we wanted to see more out of. And Bryce Young made probably one of the worst plays of the entire weekend, in my opinion. Coming out of the half, they're down 20-3. It's already looking bleak, but they get the ball and they have a very long drive and they get down to the Jags 5. Okay. 4th and 1 at the Jags 5. And Bryce essentially just throws it away. Just throws the ball over Leggette's head in the end zone. Just kind of tosses it away. And it's like, what are you doing, man? 4th and 1 as well. It's not like it's 4th and goal. You could have just you could have done anything to try to get the first down, but throws it away in that situation. And that is terrible.
You got to die on your sword in that situation, man. You got to go out swinging. You just do. Like on 4th and 1 situations, especially in a comeback situation. Like to me, when guys do that, and this is a hot take. Maybe I'm doing what we're not supposed to be doing here, Dakota. But sometimes it feels like that's trying to protect the box score at times. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily accusing Bryce of doing that, but it's like, come on, man. Force something in there. Like give your guy an opportunity, especially why are we targeting Leggett to begin with, dude? I don't know why Leggett's playing. But before I turn to Leggett further, I have to give credit to a guy who looked in the preseason like this and looked in game 1 like a monster. T-Mac, man. Dude, an absolute beauty of a catch. That one-hander.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the catch of the weekend, although we had another contender in this game, the J.C. Horn interception, another potential catch of the weekend. So a couple crazy acrobatic catches in this game, but they hit on T-Mac, man. T-Mac was a good player in college, looked really good in his debut. So that's encouraging going forward. But dude, just overall offensively for the Panthers, I got to go back to why did you trade away Adam Thielen, man, when you just haven't seen anything from Xavier Leggett? And I get the the same player, but you need Bryce Young needs guys to throw to. Of course, Jalen Coker out with injury, but why would you get rid of his reliable guy, his possession receiver, who he's built a rapport with the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, that was a baffling moment when it happened, regardless of Coker's health and whether or not that injury was they knew about it or not. It was an abysmal decision, in my opinion, to take away a guy last year that was part of the key reason Bryce played well down the stretch was having a reliable guy like Thielen. And yeah, Leggett, I don't want to tear on him too much, but he's not been good at all, and his effort has been abysmal.
Awful.
That play, there was a short yardage situation where he just straight up didn't block his guy and then turns and just watches his running back get tackled for a loss and does nothing. Like, it was, if you're not even going to be able to be good at getting open and catching the ball, you could at least participate in the run game and help your team out, man.
And it's not like he doesn't have the ability to do that, Dakota. He's a physical specimen. I mean, he's an absolute physical specimen. So, and what was that? Who made that tackle? It had to be a safety or a corner. It wasn't like a linebacker. Like, this is a block. If Leggett tries on this block, he's pancaking the guy. Like, that was the difference in size. There was absolutely no reason for it at all. And he's shown nothing in the receiving game. He's just shown nothing. It feels like something that we talk about all the time, dude, with teams. You have to fail quickly. And if you don't, then what do? You trade away a reliable guy like Adam Thielen, and you keep trying to pedal along Xavier Leggett, and it ends up working out very poorly because, like, to your point, dude, it didn't make sense even if you had Coker, because in my opinion, you find a way to have T-Mac, Coker, and Thielen on the field when they're all out there, because those were your best 3 guys. So it didn't make any sense at the time, especially when, like, it's also kind of cocky for you to think that your offense is just going to be fine, like, fixed with your new additions. It's like, no, man. Like, we need to see it. Even when Bryce is playing well, the offense sucked.
Yeah, it's disappointing. And now I'm leading into the territory already of, like, man, is Bryce Young going to hold T-Mac back?
Yeah,
because he did look really good. He deserves 10 targets plus per game. He had 9, but he looked really good. Yeah, I mean, the Panthers, it's not looking good, man. It's not looking good. He had a couple throws in there where, his interceptions were really on him. And offensively, he also had a pick 6 in there that he got bailed out of, which is worth noting. He had like a Levis type play in there where he almost just shovels it forward to try to get out of a sack. It ends up getting pick 6, and got lucky that didn't happen to hurt him. But defensively for the Panthers, they were okay. Run game didn't do great. Travis Etienne had a fantastic game on them. Pass rush still not super good yet. Scorton's still not playing, but Amuni Malin played okay as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
J.C. Horn, though, had an insane interception, that one-handed pick, which wasn't even that bad of a throw by T-Law. That's the type of play when you're trying to get it over the guy, you don't expect him to be able to get up with one hand and make that play.
It wasn't a good throw, but it wasn't, to me, it was pretty unlucky to get picked, because that was like really hard interception to make, in my opinion. But he needs to put a little bit more air on that, because if he does, I mean, Travis Hunter might have been gone, dude. Travis Hunter looked like he won the rep, but J.C. Horn just ended up making a really, really insane play on it. Speaking of Travis Hunter, played very few defensive snaps in the game. He had only 3 coverage snaps in the entire game. But Liam Cohen did say in the press conference that that's going to be probably the least amount he plays on defense all year. It was just one of those things where it was hard to get Travis prepared for what the Texans were going to be trying, or sorry, not the Texans, the Panthers were going to be trying to do. And so that's going to be a question going forward, man, because like preparation in NFL weeks is tough, and doing that on both sides of the ball, that's going to be tough, man, for him going forward. But Liam Cohen seems to think it's just going to go up from here as far as defensive snaps is concerned.
That's a really good point because watching film matters way more in the NFL than in
Yes.
college. I mean, when you're a great athlete in college, you can just show up and win. Johnny Manziel proved that. He never watched a lick of film and was the best player on the field pretty consistently. It is worth noting that Travis Hunter led the team in targets and catches, so they wanted to get the ball in his hands offensively. But it will be curious to keep an eye on his defensive stuff.
And dude, yeah, I will. And I wonder if that's like bad offensive philosophy though. Like, and I'm not that Travis Hunter was playing poorly, but it's like, are they just trying to force feed him because you spent so much draft capital on him?
Yeah. And Brian Thomas had 7 as well with 1 catch because unfortunately T-Law didn't play very well. So Brian Thomas's opportunities were just ones where he's getting open further downfield and Trevor Lawrence just didn't hit him. But I think they're like it seemed to me they're wanting to rely on Travis Hunter as an underneath, get him the ball and go plays. Brian Thomas stretched the field. And unfortunately for Brian Thomas, T-Law couldn't complete those passes in this game.
Correct.
But one thing that stood out to me is I think the Jags have a 3-headed monster at running back. Travis Etienne had a really good game. Man. Tank Bigsby is good, and Bashal Tootin, the rookie, looked good, man. I liked him. And then another guy I got to shout out is Brenton Strange, tight end, stepping up into that starting role, looked really good. Unfortunately, his counterpart, Hunter Long, caught the touchdown, the lone touchdown, but he had 4 for 59, so he looked really good as well. But yeah, overall, this is probably one of the most difficult games to draw conclusions from because for the Jags, I'm like, they won, but I don't know what this means for you really. And for the Panthers, I'm like, I don't know how much better I feel about you all this year versus last year based on this performance. And it's overreacting to the one game, but based on, to your point, the sample we have of the last 2 years,
doesn't look good, man. It really doesn't look good. And I think the reason I'm not encouraged by the Jags is because what I wanted to see from them this year, if they were going to take a step forward, was Trevor Lawrence's play, and that didn't happen. It didn't happen. He didn't elevate, and he didn't look that great. And listen, it was a weather game, whatever. We'll see the bigger sample week 1, but it's not a Panthers defense on paper that we should be giving excuses for T-Law, man. Like it doesn't seem like he's going to ever hit that generational tag that he was given as a prospect.
Yeah, and we'll see how it works out with Cohen as they get, more in rhythm together. But as we've seen in the past, Cohen knows how to get a quarterback to play to the peak of his abilities with Baker last year. So we'll see what happens the rest of the season. All right, let's move on to the last 1:00 game, which I'm going to be completely honest was the one that piqued my interest the least while I was trying to watch my quad boxes and everything. Yeah. Giants Commanders. The score looks close, but the game was never close, man. The Giants offense was pretty inept. The Commanders had like over 400 yards of offense. They just didn't score a ton. But man, the storyline from this game, without a doubt, is the Giants offense still not looking good.
It doesn't. I got to give credit to Jaden and the Commanders first, though. Jaden looked really good, and Debo in particular, Dakota. Debo looked back, man. Debo looked back. I think even though they weren't scoring a ton, I think this game could have been a lot worse, dude. That's what I took away from it. It could have been a lot worse from just a score perspective. And you're right though, dude. I think it might be dark time soon, man. I think it might be dark time soon. That Giants offense, it's just Russ. I don't know, man. He just doesn't have it anymore, dude. Like, what can I say? He just doesn't have it like he used to. He's not able to extend the play like he used to and get those moon balls off. See, that was part of the moon ball back in the day, right, Dakota? It was him able to roll out, evade pressure, and then he finds the time to be able to get the moon ball in there. He just doesn't have that escapability like he used to.
Compared with a not good offensive line, you just have no hope of achieving that. And yeah, the game should have been worse because at the end of the first half, the Commanders had the ball at the Giants 4 and kind of game management, clock managed and botched it. Regardless of what Tom Brady was saying should have happened. Jaden unfortunately made a bad decision to throw the ball away on a 3rd-and-1 situation. Brady was calling for him to clock it, to just go ahead and make it 4th down where they had to kick a field goal. I agreed with the decision to get up, run a play.
Well, they clearly had time for another play.
They had another time to try for the end zone. The unfortunate part is Daniels did what he needed to, which was nothing's open, get rid of it. Unfortunately, throws it to the left side of the end zone where no one was at. Ends up being a grounding call. Ends up ending the half off of a 10-second runoff. So
Yeah.
at the very least, it should have been 17-6 going into the half.
Exactly.
And possibly 21-6. And then in the second half, the Commanders' offense wasn't quite clicking as much. But that drive alone, I mean, the game should have been worse going into the half, which made it stay a little bit closer.
Yeah, I agree with all that because I mean, and I get Brady's perspective because like you can guarantee the 3 whatever,
Right.
but if you have time to, because there was still time left on the clock after the grounding penalty, or maybe I'm wrong about that, but either way, it's like I mean,
No, there was.
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah,
the
yeah.
last play of the half.
Yeah,
10
that's-
seconds what did it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. The 10
The
seconds.
10-second penalty is what did it.
Exactly. It's like if you have time to run a play where, by the way, it took Jaden a while to throw the ball away. It's like they should have ran another play. I mean, the play call.
Yes.
Why, also curious why there was no one on that side of the field. Why were all the routes on the short side of the field? Because like Jaden threw it to the left side of the field, but it's like no one's even over there. Which it might have just been a miscommunication kind of thing too. But either way, it was bad management at the end of the half. And it's hard to give the Commanders defense credit. Bobby Wagner's still out there making plays at his age. He looked really good. But I mean, it's just to me, as far as like overall big picture, the Giants offense was more the problem than the Commanders causing it. So that's why I think I'm interested in seeing Dart. I just don't think the Russ thing, I think they have to fail quickly with this Russ thing. If it's not working, if he's not going to put your team in position to win, then I think it's time to just see what you have in the rookie, man, because he looked really good in preseason. And it's not like this Giants team is completely void of talent. Gotta shout out Cam Scattaboo. Are you kidding me? First NFL rep, he picks up a beautiful blitz pickup in pass pro. Just absolutely destroyed the guy in pass pro. The very next play, he gets a screen on the outside and runs 3 dudes over. Are you kidding me? That was unbelievable. Cam Scattaboo will play, man. And people were talking about the yards per carry. I couldn't give a rip about the yards per carry, man. Cam Scattaboo is a fun player, and just that tone setter, dude, an absolute tone setter. So I was excited to see Cam Scattaboo do his thing.
Yeah, like a CTE heat-seeking missile with this pass pro. Yeah,
Yes.
Just a helmet to the face. Just you're not going anywhere near my quarterback. Yeah, I think you kind of summarized it. Really, the summation of this game is the offense for the Giants not being good, and Russ specifically not looking good. Offensive line didn't play well, which we expected. He also got obliterated on a pass to Neighbors where they had a blitz off the corner. It may have been a corner, I don't know if it was a safety, but off the edge that was a little delayed, and he got absolutely clocked on it. A few things I want to shout out on the Commander side is Laramie Tunsil, 84 pass blocking grade. Congratulations. Tell Texans fans to eat it. Like, you got a good pass blocking. He's good. Turns out he's still good. So I don't care about the locker room stuff.
Connerly looked good too. I thought Connerly played well.
Connerly, yeah, he did. He had a 60 pass blocking grade as against a very good. Remember, this is a very good defensive line. They had 2 guys who did not grade very well, Coleman and Biotish, but that's also the guard and center who are going against Dexter Lawrence, so that's going to naturally wreck you. But luckily, Daniels is able to handle that. But yeah, Connerly looked solid against a very good defensive line, and then obviously Laramie. And then shouting out Daniels on his 1 touchdown pass to Ertz, because he fit that perfectly between the corner and linebacker. It wasn't a deep throw, but he thread the NFL window, man, and he hit it. He still got it. Turns out Jaden Daniels is still good.
He's still him. We're going to be talking about a sophomore slump later, but it doesn't look like Jaden's the guy that the sophomore slump's going to hit.
No.
I will give the Giants a little bit of credit because we keep talking about the defensive line. They were as advertised, man. Burns had 2 sacks. Abdul Carter was their highest graded defensive player from PFF with a 78.3 pass rush grade with 3 total pressures and a sack. That D line is going to be a problem for everyone this season.
And I got to shout out my boy. Jaden had a really good rushing game, but again, never listen to depth charts. Doesn't matter. I don't care if Bill was 4th string. Bill Krosky, Merritt, 10 carries for 82 yards. and a touchdown in there. Dude looked incredible. Honestly, all jokes aside, like having a running back like that, they got rid of Brian Robinson, traded him to the 49ers, and Austin Eckler is reaching retirement home era. Having a running back like Krosky Merritt to pair with Jaden Daniels could make this offense even more electric.
Agreed.
All right. That wraps up the 1 p.m. slate. Now we'll try to get through the 4 p.m. and Sunday Night Football before Monday Night Football kicks off here in about 24 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Starting with one that, if I'm ever going to rant, this is the time to do it. But the Broncos beat the Titans 20-12. And my analysis for this game was, worried that Vance Joseph would put Cam Ward into a blender. But instead he put Brian Callahan in a blender. This is one of the most poor. It's so bad that especially recently, a lot of people don't talk about the Titans because we've been terrible. But with Cam Ward, people watched. They wanted to watch Cam Ward, and everyone watched and witnessed the same thing where they're just, how in the world is Brian Callahan going to keep his job after this week? And the subsequent is going to be a mystery. He doesn't know the rules. Didn't challenge a play where Alec Manor had his elbow in. Didn't know that counted as 2 feet. The play calling, the decision making, can be summarized by the Titans ran the ball consistently on first and second down, even on third down. There was a drive where off of a turnover, just ran the ball 3 straight times to kick a field goal. Didn't even let Cam Ward throw. And then before the end of the half, they get down at the 5. And Brian Callahan is like, let's open up the playbook now. And starts trying to let Cam Ward throw it backed up at his own end zone with not much time left. And that sequence ends up resulting in points for the Broncos. They score a touchdown off of the next drive. And it just, I could rant for 30 minutes on this alone, but abysmal from Callahan.
Callahan had by far the worst week 1 coaching outing out of any coach in the NFL. It was awful, man. It was awful. The post game presser where he's admitting that he doesn't. He should have telling the reporter an elbow does not equal 2 feet.
Yep.
Yes, it does. It does. Body parts equal 2 feet. That's been a known rule for a long time. And casual NFL fans know this, Dakota. There is 32 head coaches in the NFL, and you're one of them, and you don't even know the rules, dude. I mean, it was abysmal. Listen, and we'll give the Broncos defense deserves credit. Now, I might take a premature victory lap on Bo Nix later, but the Broncos defense deserves credit. They looked incredible. Nick Bonino in particular dominated. Got
his money game and deserved it.
They dominated. So give the Broncos credit. And listen, that defense is going to be a problem, dude. It's going to be one of the best units in the league. But the Titans could have won this football game. They probably should have won this football game because of Bo Nix giving the ball to the Titans on several occasions. And listen, Cam Ward, he played good, okay? Considering the circumstances where both his tackles were a turnstile, okay? Both his tackles were a turnstile. His coach was failing him time and time again with play calling, just bad decision-making overall. And then the receivers, man, Calvin Ridley multiple times dropping passes that Cam Ward, especially in the crucial moment in the game. Last drive, 2 plays in a row up the seam. Cam Ward hits a beautiful throw, and I think Calvin Ridley dropped one, and then maybe it was someone else on the other, but either way, Cam Ward, 2 passes in a row, man, on the money, on the game-winning drive or game-tying drive potentially, and his guys just let him down, man, which was kind of the story of the game.
It was the rookie DK that had the other one where he just didn't. Okay. That was a rookie unfortunate miscommunication where DK didn't run it tight enough like Cam expected him to, and this is back to the Bengals-Browns game we mentioned earlier where then the Bengals ended up winning the game where the Browns kind of handed it to them from turnovers and turnovers and missed kicks. And this was it where Bo Nix had 3 turnovers that were entirely his fault, plus another turnover-worthy play in there.
Breaking news. Tank Bigsby is heading to the Eagles in a trade. Sorry, I had to interrupt you with that because we were just talking about the Jags running back.
Talked about him.
And Tank Bigsby is heading to the Eagles. Interesting.
After we just talked about the triple-headed monster, that also tells me
Yeah.
they saw Bashaw Tootin play and were like, the Jags were like, yeah, this is probably going to be our guy. Other breaking news is George Kittle's expected to be sidelined multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. So
Yeah, we'll talk about
all
the
the news,
Niners in a
man.
minute.
Yeah, all the news. But yeah, I mean, 4 turnovers at Bo Nix with a 38.2 passing grade. Abysmal outing from Bo Nix. The Titans defense actually looked pretty good.
They
Denard
did.
Wilson consistently is outperforming the talent that's on this defense. L'Jarius Sneed was back. He played minimal snaps, but looked back. He had like an 83 coverage grade. The problem is coaching. At the end of the day, the problem with this team is coaching. Offensively is an absolute nightmare. Special teams are a lot better than last year. I don't know if people remember, Titans games weren't on much, but multiple games were decided because of the special teams unit being abysmal. DK had a credible kick return that ended up leading to a field goal before the half. But here is the one big issue with coaching is discipline and 13 penalties for 131 yards. And I will say there's a couple in there that I think were a little tic-tacky. But 131 yards penalty-wise to 133 offensive yards. You cannot win football games doing that.
You can't. And yeah, overall, Callahan got badly outcoached, really badly outcoached. Last thing I'll talk about on this game is the Bo Nix performance. Listen, man, Broncos fans, your team's good. And this is the weird thing with fan bases to me, Dakota. It's like, why do you feel the need to defend a specific player on your team when your team overall is fine? Like, your team's good. And I think your team is probably going to be in the playoffs based on this performance. Like, they won a game where where Bo Nix, the quarterback, was chucking it to the defense all game long, dude. He had the worst quarterback performance of the weekend, Dakota, and it wasn't particularly close, man. He was awful. It looks like the sophomore slump is in full swing. And even going back to last year, Dakota, Broncos fans, he's way overrated from last year, man. I'm sorry. He just was. 4 of his touchdowns were against the Chiefs backups in week 18. Those things matter. He started off the year abysmally, and yeah, he got better. He got better. And again, it goes back to the thing you say all the time, Dakota, with young players. We expect linear progression. It's not how this game works. You don't always progress linearly. You can have ebbs and flows. We see it with Bryce Young. We're seeing it with Bo Nix. It's the ebbs and flows. And the fact that this kind of game, which against a defense, Dakota, which again, like you said, outperformed the talent, but is lacking talent. It is lacking talent. And you're at home. You're expected to win this game by 8.5 points. You were the biggest favorite in the weekend. And your quarterback, he crapped the bed. He absolutely crapped the bed, dude. And the fact that that's a potential performance for Bo Nix would be concerning for me if I'm a Broncos fan going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, the Titans defense, especially pass rushing wise, edge rushing, linebackers, bottom units in the NFL. They just are. Tavondre Sweat made an impact in the interior. So did Jeffrey Simmons. They were wreaking havoc on the interior, which is worth noting for the Broncos offensive line. And not to just say that the Titans lost this game, you know, giving the credit to the Broncos defense specifically. It is one of the best units in the NFL. And Vance Joseph is one of the best defense coordinators in the NFL. They were out coaching, out scheming, you know, and they deserve the win. And one, you know, a couple guys I want to shout out really quick. You know, Tony Pollard can actually look pretty good again. Did have a fumble that was excruciating in the moment. RJ Harvey looked good. RJ Harvey looked like and so did JK. JK played pretty well, but RJ Harvey flashed. And then Troy Franklin getting involved. You know, the rookie from the second round guy from last year. Old teammate of Bo Nix's. He got involved with 4 catches, so that's good to see. But yeah, overall, Titans are not going to be a good football team. We know that. Cam Ward looks like he could be good. Who knows how this season's going to work out? I think they get the Rams next week, so that's not going to help his development whatsoever. So unfortunate. But for the Broncos, yeah, I think that the thing to take away is hopefully Nix plays better than this, but you won a football game where Nix played literally the worst of any quarterback of this week and still won the football game. So it says a lot about the team.
And that's my point, Dakota. It's like, don't feel like you have to defend Bo Nix. He was awful. Okay. He was awful. And he might not be an elite quarterback ever in his career, but your team's good. So be happy. You found a way to win a game that you should not have won.
No. And you have a good coach too. If you have a good coach, good team, quarterback play, as long as he can be good enough when you need him to, that's all you really got to ask for. So, all right, let's move on to one of the other divisional matchups of the weekend. 49ers beat the Seahawks 17-13 and a bit of a heartbreaker for the Seahawks. But the 49ers get back to positive. They're 1-0 after a rough season last year in San Fran.
Positive in the win column, but very not positive on the injury report. So we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah. But it was a fun divisional game, man. This was a fun matchup overall. A couple of surprising performances. It looked like early the Niners offense was going to be back, dude. It looked like the Niners offense was just going to overall be really, really good in this game. It didn't necessarily end up playing out that way the whole entire game. And part of that is due to these injuries that ended up taking place. But also I was impressed with Darnold, man. Darnold looked pretty good. He wasn't awful. And you know, I don't know. I think I was, again, kind of like you said, it was heartbreaking for Seattle in the end. I'm pretty high on Seattle, man. I think their outlook is still really good despite this tough loss. But the Niners, man, that's the funny thing. This is the one game where I actually feel worse about the winner. I do, because you just mentioned on air that Kittle's out for several weeks. I don't know if you saw the report, dude, but Brock Purdy is now dealing with an injury. He might not play. Trent Williams looked terrible in the game. He looked absolutely awful. Exactly. It seems like he fell off a cliff. CMC is always an injury risk. They still have Ayuk out. And you know, all offseason I was saying, if they have their offensive weapons, they're going to be good on offense. But if they have the injuries that have been kind of the Niners thing the last few years, then they could fall off pretty hard. And at this point, man, like the strength and conditioning, I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know if it's a really bad run of luck, but dude, it's brutal, man. I mean, injury after injury, and it's year after year. It's just really, really bad.
It is brutal, and you're right. You know, they had a 95-yard drive to start the game, and Kittle was a huge part of that. Ends up catching the touchdown, and then comes out of the game, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of the injuries and the team's lack of ability of staying healthy. I don't know if it's a combination of the age there and them being likely to be injured more with guys like Kittle and Trent Williams, who's been out as well. But it's just it's worrying. It's worrying for the 49ers, and I do kind of agree. I feel better about the Seahawks than I do the 49ers coming out of this, because
I know
unfortunate play for Darnold. He still finished as the 4th highest graded passer this week, and Seahawks fans may be surprised by that, by some of the performance, but he had some beautiful throws in there, including a fantastic one to JSN down the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting spammed in chat. Nice.
Oh, are we really?
But by NFL game streaming on CBS.
I will be taking care of that. No, I'll be
interaction.
You're gonna be removed. NFL streams on CBS. Sorry. Jeez.
Oh, but Darnold actually played well, and had an unfortunate fumble, which was really Nick Bosa making a good play more than it was, in my opinion, a bad play by Darnold. They didn't even give him a turnover worthy play for that. PFF didn't, so it's more of just Nick Bosa making an incredible play that was just really unfortunate, because it looked like the Seahawks were about to win the game. Like, it did. That drive felt like they were about to win the game. Can't say for certain, but it felt that way. And yeah, unfortunate loss for them. And you know, a few positives for the Seahawks. You know, rookie Emenwari, the safety out of South Carolina, made a few plays in this, including like a fantastic tackle for loss where he blew a play up. One negative, I saw so much on Twitter of Seahawks fans just trashing Tariq Woolen. And because he was kind of to blame on the touchdown and a few other pass plays where he was going for big play rather than just breaking up the pass. And it ended up being huge in the end. But overall, man, the Seahawks, the one thing I will say there's also concernings coming from this a good amount, because Cooper Kupp was literally non-existent in this game, but JSN is wearing the wide receiver 1 hat proudly, and he looked pretty good doing it.
That was really notable coming from this game. It really felt like the JSN show, and that's it. And we kind of had questions. That's why I was questioning Darnold, dude, because it's like he's coming from
Yes.
Minnesota with all these weapons, and he's going to a team that's significantly downgrading in weapons. And I think that played out in week one. I do have to give JSN credit though. It does seem like he's finally ready to break out and be that,
Yeah.
difference making wide receiver one, which he kind of started to do at the end of last year. So give him credit for that. Abraham Lucas, their tackle, I believe right tackle, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that, my bad. But he continues to be really bad. Charles Cross was phenomenal, kind of as usual. He's kind of the strong suit of that offensive line. But yeah, Abraham Lucas was not good in this game. And the interior is better now though. Gray's Able played a little bit better. That's why, again, kind of like we're saying, dude, is like, I feel better. The outlook of the Seahawks feels better to me right now than the 49ers out of this game, because I mean, it was an unfortunate play, man. It did feel like that pass could have been broken up in the end zone. It was a great throw by Brock Purdy. Got to give him credit for that. The throw was really, really nice. And a great catch as well. But yeah, I feel like the Seahawks probably should have won this game, Dakota. And then also, I feel better about them going forward in this division, just because of the 49ers injuries.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing too that's noteworthy is the the JSN fumble after, praising him, which he deserves. The start of the fourth quarter was unfortunate, where they were driving and he ends up fumbling, which if they had been able to go down on that drive and score, which not saying it would have definitely happened, they could have potentially taken a 2-score lead, and things kind of fell off a little bit after that. But yeah, we're going to need to see somebody step up at receiver for the Seahawks, because, and that may be why people think Sam Darnold didn't play very well, is just looking at JSN's stats and being like, oh, he just force fed one guy. But the problem is that he was the only guy getting open.
Yes, yeah.
And when he did, Darnold could hit him. But yeah, from this game, I'm worried about the 49ers. I think their defense is still pretty solid. Nick Bosa, my, preseason defense player of the year.
Looking good.
He was looking good. He's looking good. The interior defensive line was okay. Kenneth Walker maybe cooked. I don't know. His rushing ability was not very good in this game.
It didn't look good.
And really, just when he got the ball in his hands, didn't look very good. So, but yeah, we'll see. I'm worried for the 49ers. The health is going to be an issue. And then for the Seahawks, I'm excited. I'm curious to see. I still think McDonald is just going to be a good coach. And I'll be curious to see what this Seahawks team can do.
Yeah, man, I feel like I'm kind of slightly more negative in this game. I don't know why. Maybe because it was just a kind of a defensive slugfest. But Mykel Williams is also a disappointment. He was also a pretty big disappointment in this game. We were kind of calling for someone else to step up out, opposite side of Nick Bosa, and it didn't happen in week one. Now, I'm not saying he's a bust because of week one. He's a rookie. It's his debut. He was probably rushing against Charles Cross, really good left tackle, some of the game as well. So that's probably has a lot to do with it. They probably took advantage of the right tackle matchup, I have to imagine. So, yeah. But like the Niners, man, like the issue with them is going to be these injuries going forward, dude. Because I think if they were healthy, they probably, looking at everyone else in the division this week one, I probably would have felt pretty comfortable thinking they were going to take this division. And I thought Brock Purdy played well overall. But he's not going to be able to do anything without those top weapons.
Absolutely. And one thing to note, you mentioning Mykel Williams, the other two rookies on the defensive line, Alfred Collins and CJ West, only played 9 and 7 snaps each. They didn't get a ton of time in there to really see what they can do. Again, where they need help, man, they need some help on that defensive line alongside Nick Bosa. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to, honestly, one of the other big blowouts of the week.
Yep.
The Lions Packers, man. The Packers dominated this game from start to finish. And that's not really overselling it. That's just what happened in this game.
No, they dominated. You're 100% correct about that. But give us credit, Dakota. We predicted the overreactions from this game. Immediately.
That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. Immediately, Dan Campbell was a Ben Johnson merchant, and he was never a good coach. It was all Ben Johnson the entire time. Speaking of Ben Johnson, the game is about to come on, so we'll see how the Bears do tonight.
I know.
With Ben Johnson. But yeah, man, total credit to the Packers. The Packers, I'm feeling good about them winning this division after week 1. It's only week 1. We'll see what happens. But man, they looked really dominant. I was really impressed with Jordan Love's play. I thought he was making some great plays in there. Matthew Golden was making some plays. I'm intrigued with Matthew Golden's potential. And then turns out adding Micah Parsons, pretty good move, man. Pretty good move. He dominated.
Turns out, regardless of what Cowboys fans wanted you to believe, Micah Parsons is good at football. I think he only played like 45% of snaps, managed to get, I think, 3 or 4 pressures in there, including a sack. And just because the sack happened late, everybody made that a big deal of like, oh, it took him that long to get one. But the thing that stood out more than anything is he kind of manhandled Penei Sewell at times. One of the best tackles in the game, arguably the best right tackle up there with Lane Johnson, and he dominated him at times. He absolutely – the thing that stood out the most to me is his power. I don't think he gets enough credit for that because he would drive Penei right back into Goff's lap. But yeah, this Packers team, I mean, offensively – I think they're still, definitely not their best performance offensively. They can get into a bit of a more of a rhythm, which it'll take time. Matthew Golden only had 2 touches in there. But Jordan Love didn't really put the ball in harm's way. Overall, I think the game plan worked really well in terms of them being able to kind of control the tempo of this game. And Josh Jacobs got almost 20 carries. But at the end of the day, I think that the storyline was really, and this is where the overreactions are coming to, is the Lions offense just wasn't quite up to par anymore. And is it the Ben Johnson factor? Who knows? But week 1 sample size, Jared Goff's average depth of target was like 4.2 yards, which was like the 5th lowest of his career. That is really low. So it was pretty much just dink and dunk was the game plan. And he did have an interception in there that was also unfortunate by a Micah Parsons pressure.
Yes, by Micah Parsons pressure that looked a lot like actually his sack is what reminded me of the Myles Garrett play. So I was saying earlier how Myles Garrett looked like he was going 50 miles an hour after that stunt. Similar thing to the sack, dude. Micah Parsons comes out of the scrum of the offensive line, and it was terrifying just seeing Micah come out of that scrum, just chasing Goff down. Man, Micah Parsons good at football, shocking. A couple other just little notes from the game. Brian Branch had the negated pick. That was what a play, dude. I mean, he ended up taking that back to what a play. Yeah, Packers got pretty lucky with that. Even though the game was in hand at that point, it was still, pretty lucky. And another thing is, Isaac Tesla, man, he needs more playing time. That boy can play. He's addicted to the end zone, dude. Scored in, I believe, 2 or 3 of their preseason games. I know for a fact it was at least 2, may have been 3, and scores in his first NFL action in his career, regular season action, and he did not play a ton. Like, he had 3 snaps and he scores on one of his snaps. Like, yeah, man, Isaac Tesla just needs more playing time. I'm honestly kind of surprised that they re-signed Jameson Williams without seeing what Tesla can do in the regular season, like without giving that a little bit more time, because I'm not going to overreact to one play in the preseason and all that, but it looks like Tesla can play, man. And if he can play, Jameson Williams has yet to truly break out, in my opinion, Dakota. He's yet to truly break out. So, yeah, that was an interesting decision. We'll see how it plays out, but that's at least another playmaker the Lions fans could be excited about going forward.
Yeah, in the preseason dominated, and that play was a wild catch. I agree. It's interesting because they basically extended – their logic was almost that they expect Jameson to still be good and they want to re-sign him, so let's go ahead and do it now. But, yeah, when you've already paid him on Raw, kind of feels like you might want to wait to find out what you got for wide receiver 2, but they're committed now, so we'll see. But a couple other guys to shout out. Lucas Van Ness had 4 pressures in this game, which could be the Micah Parsons effect. Yep. Him and Rashawn Gary now get to be 2 and 3 behind Micah, going into his 3rd year. Hopefully he can kind of break out. Didn't have a fantastic pass rushing grade for PFF, but generated some pressures and had a sack in there that I think was a cleanup off of a Micah or Rashawn pressure. I can't remember who was in. And then Aiden Hutchinson, kind of a slow start for him, which I think was to be expected coming off of the injury. He still had a couple pressures in there as well. Didn't make anything in the box score, so that's probably what people will look at and overreact and be like, oh, he sucks now. He still had a couple pressures. I think it's more of he's coming back from a devastating injury, so this was the first game, and he'll obviously get more into a rhythm as the season goes on. But worth noting that. But yeah, I think, my takeaways from this game are, I don't want to overreact to one game, but I'm a little worried about the Lions without their two coordinators, specifically Ben Johnson. And for the Packers, I think they're going to be competing in the NFC. They will be competing for sure.
I agree. And I agree with you as well. Like, you can't just say it's nothing because of how bad the Lions offense looked. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs just wasn't as electric as he was. And with Ben Johnson, dude, it just felt like every carry was going for 5 or 6 or 7 yards. That just wasn't there in this game. So it's not nothing, right? It's notable, the regression, but I think we need more of a sample to truly know, because they still have the talent.
And to our point, as we're talking about this defensive line that played really well, that can also play a role in the schematic. Also, you never know with an OC with their first game of the season how conservative, whatnot they want to be. So we'll see. It's one game, so we won't overreact to that. Monday Night Football has kicked off. So we'll try to get to these last two games. I do. My monitor right here.
Same here.
So we'll jump into the last 4:00 game, which was Rams Texans, which, score-wise doesn't look too exciting, but was really just a defensive slugfest from two of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, it was a slugfest. We were talking before we got on air how Matthew Stafford, highest graded PFF quarterback this week with 5 big-time throws. Back's fine. Is the back fine? Maybe it just speaks to the Texans defense. Even when Stafford's making plays, the Texans defense found a way to only give up 14 points.
Minimize it.
Yeah, exactly. So got to give them credit for that. I don't know. I'm not going to overreact to, again, 1 week, but Devontae Adams, to me, I'm not going to say he's hit a cliff or maybe he's plateaued, but I don't know. He just didn't make the impact I kind of expected. But Puka continues to be Puka. Puka is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And then positively for the Rams defense, the defensive line is as advertised. Now they may have had their best or their easiest assignment of the entire year with the Texans defensive or offensive line. But yeah, credit to the Rams defense. They look like a solid unit, especially up front. And yeah, they honestly, with the Niners injuries, I think it's going to be the Rams and the Seahawks trying to battle for that division.
Yeah, Puka, he had a play in there where he got clocked in the face and then clocked again and was bleeding from his head and everything and had to go get patched up. And then sent back out there and gets 10 catches for 130 through the bleeding head. He looked, the connection with him and Stafford is on point still. And yeah, Stafford overall, man, his mobility definitely looked rough. Passing wise, it did not seem to impact him, but it seemed like anytime somebody got near him, it was kind of like alarms going off of he couldn't move a ton or just tried to get rid of the ball, but overall played well. And yeah, the Rams defense, dude. Jared Verse, was he your defensive player of the year pick? No, it was Kyle, but we had talked about him as a dark horse candidate. Is what it was. Yeah, 90.6 defensive grade in general with an 83 pass rushing, 4 pressures. This defensive line, Jared Verse, again, we could spend forever on the overthinking this of letting Jared Verse drop to where he did in the draft, just like Derwin did, where it's for some reason Florida State defensive players who were gods as freshmen, by the time they come out as a junior, we're like, I liked them more as a freshman. They get in the NFL. They're still fantastic. But yeah, this defensive line, and Byron Young got a sack.
Our boy Byron Young.
So did Jalen McCullough.
Oh, yeah.
Got a
okay.
sack.
All right. I remember that. I remember that play, sending him on a blitz.
And a couple sacks from the Vols there. So
and it looked like Stroud did not see that coming. So that one might have actually been on Stroud, but now that we gave the Rams credit, the other side of that is the Texans. Now again, something that we might deserve credit for the preview show. We said one of the biggest matchup discrepancies of the weekend was the Rams defensive line versus the Texans offensive line, which wasn't very hard to predict. But it ended up being true. Ursary had a rough debut, man. 29.4 PFF passing grade. And again, very tough assignment. But God, dude, I'm looking at the Texans offensive line grades, and it is, dude, it's bad. It's bad. It was really, really bad. And listen, and I believe in Stroud. I am a Stroud believer, Texans fans. I am. But you can't operate an offense behind this bad of an offensive line, Dakota. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I don't want to trigger you again because I mention it on every show. But I mean, again, we're entering Andrew Luck territory, man.
We really are.
Andrew Luck territory. This offensive line was not good last year. You trade away the best part of it. I get whatever locker room stuff is going on. I understand that. But then you just don't really do enough to address it. And CJ Stroud has shown that he can operate behind it and still play pretty well. But you're capping his ability just like you would cap any quarterback's ability to play well when the offensive line is this much of a liability. And unfortunately, I think this team is only going to go as far as this offensive line can hold up. And I hate it for Stroud because I don't want it to destroy his development and his confidence and everything, where you're having to change the way you play the game because you're no longer it's no longer snap, let me read the defense. It's snap, where's the pressure coming from? Now let me do my job. And that's detrimental to a quarterback, man. And Stroud is too good to be dealing with that.
Yeah, and I think the real issue, well, there's several issues with giving up pressure constantly, but one of the main issues is that what it does to a quarterback, the reason it breaks them is because, like you said, Dakota, they're looking for it on every play. So even if it's not there, they play like it's there. That was the problem with the Baker at the end of his Cleveland tenure. He expected the pressure, so he always played like the pressure was happening, even when it wasn't. So he played poorly consistently. And Stroud didn't even play poorly in this game. He played well in this game, despite the bad offensive line. It always felt really silly to think that trading away one of the best pass protecting left tackles in the league was going to make your line better. Didn't that just seem like, and we kind of said that, like we were kind of fence sitting, like maybe it's like, since he was like a locker room problem, it seemed, or at least they try to make it that way, kind of like the Micah situation in Dallas. When you trade away a good player, you have to justify it for some reason, but the line's going to be a problem all year, dude. It's going to be what holds this team back and what kind of opens up the AFC South to me. That now looks like a wide open division between those three teams at the top.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well, is that the way the Colts looked and how their defense just, whether it's Tua sucking or them just also playing well, shut down the Dolphins pretty handedly. But yeah, the other thing I would note that was a little concerning, and again, it's part of this is the Rams defense being good, but their secondary is not necessarily on paper that good. But Nico Collins only had 3 catches. Jaden Higgins actually led in receiving yards wise, which is good to see that the rookie getting involved. But pass catchers may also need to help Stroud out a little bit more. And then the run game, Nick Chubb had a solid game.
He did, man.
It was nice seeing him back out there, and I'm glad they gave him the carries over Dameon Pierce.
I know. Chubb is such an awesome story, dude. All the knee injuries he's went through, all the rehab, and that's the kind of guy you just know he loves ball. He's not playing for, well, in relative terms, he's not playing for a ton of money. Okay, he's made more money in his career. Right. He's probably made 95% of the money he'll ever make in his NFL career. But dude, he just loves ball, man. The amount of work it's taken to come back from several knee injuries like he has, and he is still good despite it, man. Imagine if he never had the knee injuries, dude. Yeah, he's a fun story, man.
And as Vols fans too, we got shredded by him at Georgia, and unfortunately had his first devastating knee injury in Neyland Stadium.
Part of the problem.
If you've never seen the clip, you may not want to.
That's what started it for Chubb and his injuries.
And it's unfortunate, man. But yeah, it's fantastic seeing him back out there and playing well, even at the age, the 2017 class getting up there, man. I forgot to shout out Kamara earlier, but Kamara still looked pretty good. Kamara still looked pretty good too, man.
He did.
But yeah, I think final thoughts for me on this is just the Texans, man. Defense may have to carry them, man. The defense may have to carry them, and they can. It's going to help them compete in the AFC South for sure. But with the offense and the offensive line specifically, it's going to be a battle. And then the Rams, even without the offensive production necessarily, Stafford played well. The defense looks good. I think they're going to be competing in the NFC as long as the back holds up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as the back holds up. And again, I think I got to credit the Texans defense, man. I think the Rams would have scored more here if the Texans didn't have such a good unit. But again, like if Stafford plays like this all year, dude, and that defensive line, yeah, they're an absolute threat to win the NFC.
And to your point, I got to shout out Will Anderson, 8th highest graded defensive player, just under a 90 pass rush grade, 4 pressures. Turns out he's good. Again, yeah, they traded up and it's working out. Your second, third overall picks are looking pretty good. So
yeah. Just need to fix that O-line, man.
Yeah, and then you're right there, man. All right, that wraps up the Sunday 4 p.m. slate. Let's wrap things up with one of the best games probably in the last decade. Man, what a week 1 of football, dude. This whole day was just, after watching college football for the past 2 weeks and watching some games that, like, even when they're close, it's like, the teams screw up all the time to lose it or whatever, and some games just aren't close. Almost every game this weekend was fun to watch throughout, and this one was the just cherry on top of the whole thing.
It was.
The Ravens offense just looked unstoppable for pretty much the whole game, and the Bills offense looked weird at the beginning where they were just throwing everything underneath, and it's like almost they were limiting what Josh Allen can do. And then when they get down by 2 scores,
it's the Josh Allen show.
Slinging it.
It's the Josh Allen show, man.
You have one of the best comebacks in recent memory.
Yeah, dude. I mean, listen, it seems like obvious analysis, but what stands out was the quarterbacks in this game. There's a lot to get to in this game. This might be our longest review of the show. I have to admit to our very few viewers, I fell asleep, man. I didn't think they could come back. I was devastated, dude. I about started crying when I woke up at like 4 a.m. this morning and I saw the score. I knew it had to be on the back of some great Josh Allen plays. But you know what it really started with, which is going under the radar, Dakota, is the play before halftime that got them in field goal range, dude. They got the ball back with like less than 15 seconds. And that's when you have an elite MVP, future Hall of Fame quarterback, when you trust them before the half with 15 seconds left to go down and get points. It was incredible. The throw on the sideline, getting it in bounds with only 1 second left, and then sneaking in 3, which ended up being part of the deciding factor in this ball game. And yeah, dude, it's just, listen, this was 2 AFC juggernauts, man, because I have to give a ton of credit to the Ravens as well. The ageless Derrick Henry, dude, what a story. He was phenomenal in this game. Unfortunately, as we know, Dakota had the brutal kind of game-ending fumble, if you will. But outside of that, dude, he was so good in this ball game.
Yeah, this game, so many interesting moments that kind of dictated it, because it is one of those games where every play mattered so much. And yeah, I think there was 25 seconds left once they got the ball, but still, to your point, like, and it was kind of like the freaking Mahomes, Bills game in the playoffs where it was heartbreaking from that. But yeah, he had 2 beautiful throws, one to Kincaid. And yeah, this game was so fun to watch from start to end. And another, the field goal stuff and extra points, missing the extra point. This is something that also is going to get overlooked, is that when the Ravens scored to go up 40-25, they missed the extra point. Okay. They missed the extra point, which then led down this path of the Bills going for 2 to try to tie it and then not getting it, and then kicked a field goal that inevitably won them the game. But had all that happened the exact same scenario, we actually go to overtime instead.
Overtime, yeah.
That missed PAT ended up being detrimental from the new kicker. Tucker's gone, and the new kicker misses that. And yeah, but unfortunately, the blame can kind of be placed on Derrick Henry, which kind of sucks because he played such a phenomenal game. But that fumble was in a crucial moment. Crucial moment, man.
It was so
to give
crucial.
them the ball in immediate plus territory, and it ended up being the difference in the game. And after having 175 yard rushing at the time, it looked like he was on pace for yet another 200-yard rushing game. And then that fumble where his famous stiff arm proved costly while he was stiff arming, and it was vulnerable and got punched out.
Man, it's brutal. It was brutal for D-Hen, man. Because, like, you have to – I think it's fair to keep asking the question, is Derrick Henry going to fall off? Because running backs just do at 30-plus, man. They do, but not Derrick Henry. And I texted y'all on our Twitter chat, dude, and I said, Derrick Henry he's flying up my all-time rankings, man. He is truly the last great running back. Just the last good runner, or not good, great runner of the football, the last bell cow who's getting all the carries, who's expected to get 25, 30 touches in a game. And he didn't in this game, obviously, but that is his expectation. But man, it's unfortunate, man. The fumble was so unfortunate. That stiff arm, though, listen, he had the stiff arm on the scoring play as well. His stiff arm is it has to be the best move in NFL history, dude. It is the most dominant move by a running back in NFL history, in my opinion, dude. It is vicious. It's very unfortunate. It costs them. And I got to get your opinion, dude, on these blown leads by the Ravens, man. That's kind of been the narrative out of this game. And some really stupid fans are blaming Lamar somehow, even though Lamar was phenomenal in this game. Lamar was fantastic. But, dude, as a team who feels like they can run the ball at will with a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter, doesn't it feel like they should never blow leads? And they now have this kind of history of doing this. And I really don't know why.
No, it's fascinating, man. It'd be an interesting analysis for somebody to go back and look at the play call specifically when they had the lead and what happened there. Because like the drive, and it's interesting because you're talking about a game where your defense is starting to get torn apart. So you're having to mentally prepare for that. But they did an interesting play calling on the last drive when they ended up punting. And then, Chris Collinsworth was calling for them to go for it.
I agree. Man.
Because at the end of the day, the situation pretty much ends up the same, but you're probably going to get the ball back is the difference. And it's baffling to basically say, if I don't get this, I'm handing you a field goal. But the other side of that is I don't know how aggressive the Bills would have gotten there, but even if they score a touchdown, again, that's better for you in this situation than end up no time left on the clock.
Exactly. And listen, I don't know if the analytics said go. And I know that, the analytics said, man, if it says go, because you know why? Because the analytics take into account, they have Josh Allen on the other side, and you let Josh Allen get hot in the second half, which, dude, I saw some, and I'll get into more Josh Allen praise, but some of his throws in this game, man, he's one of one. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. But, dude, 4th and 2 with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, man, that's their bread and butter, Dakota. They're unstoppable in those situations. They just are. They're unstoppable in those situations. So why not keep the ball in their hands when your defense is slipping? Your defense is slipping. Josh Allen has taken the game over, and it looks like he's unstoppable, and he continued to be unstoppable on the game-winning field goal drive. So it was an interesting decision from a guy in John Harbaugh, by the way, who has been one of the most aggressive 4th down decision makers in the NFL. That's why it was confusing. It was extremely confusing to me, man.
Yeah, and it honestly, I wonder at this point too if Harbaugh and them get to this point in their mind of overthinking the situation and trying to make sure they don't blow another lead, and then everything's going to your head and you're worried, and then it happens. But it's I mean, Josh Allen is clearly in that echelon, just like Mahomes, where it's even Burrow to a degree, but like if you're going to give them a chance to go win the game, they're probably going to do it, especially Allen.
Yes.
But the way you just witness him play, he's going to go down and win the game, man. So
Yes.
you might as well keep the ball in your hands where you have control, especially when Lamar was playing well, especially running wise. I mean, Lamar had some scrambles in this game that were, they ran like 70 yards to gain 19. And the running game was working so well. It's just, I don't know how to, I don't know what the solution is for the Ravens to avoid blowing these leads, because it's also just like the perfect storm of things that happen in some of them. Missing the kick ended up being the catalyst for this one in the first place. So,
and what started it too, which was the 4th and 2 goal line play where it looked like Josh Allen was targeting the tight end, I think Kincaid, and then it gets batted up and lands in, I believe was Keon Coleman, right? Who caught that?
Caught it.
And by the way, Keon Coleman broke out in this game too.
Fantastic game.
Really, really good. And which is what, dude, that's what's been missing in this Bills offense is that elite X wide receiver, man.
Did you see him post game? Because he looked like, dude, he had about 12 chains on and a massive diamond. Wide receiver
Dakota.
one. Wide receiver one. Wide receiver one.
Dude, bro, it's over. Keon Coleman's him. I mean, going back to our wide receiver one theory, dude, like, listen, that's what I want to see. I want to see multiple chains from my wide receiver one. I want to see sunglasses in the post-game press conference. That's what I want to see. And he had a wide receiver one stat line, man. Like, Keon Coleman has broken out. It helps he has Josh Allen as quarterback who can literally and this is my Josh Allen glaze segment, if you will.
Do it.
Dude, the way he's able to use all of the football field, I have literally never seen. And like I mean, I literally never see anyone else do it. I mean, you can talk about guys extending plays, whatever, and I guess it's a little bit Rodgers-esque, but even Rodgers, man, he even didn't get 6 inches from the sideline and is able to throw balls on a rope, man, and make plays downfield. It's unbelievable what he can do. He obviously, the short yardage run game, he's a lead in, but it was just some of these throws on the run in this game. He's so good at not taking sacks because he's just, I think he has the best feel for pressure right now in the NFL. Like it feels like he has that just third eye that's just looking at every defensive lineman where they're at all times. So he just like it doesn't really matter if his line's giving up pressure, which the line played good. I'm just saying it doesn't even matter when they do give up pressure because Josh is able to escape it, extend the play, and just maximize his time throwing the ball, man. And dude, just some of the throws, they're unguardable. They're unguardable. The windows he's able to put it in, man. He is the best quarterback in the league right now. And I don't care about the Super Bowl rings. I really just don't care about it. I don't, because he's gotten extremely unlucky in his postseason games where he balled out and something happened the 13-second whatever last year with the QB sneak. Unfortunate happenings happened. Josh Allen showed up in those games, and he once again, dude, showed up in a game that's going to matter when we're talking about number 1 seed implications.
For sure. And, we're a little biased, but there's a long period of the NFL where Peyton Manning was just the best quarterback in the NFL. Everyone agreed on it. When Brady he still had 3 rings at the time because he had the first 3 Super Bowl rings, but Peyton was just the best quarterback. And we are entering in that area right now where it doesn't really matter that I don't care about the past as much about what you're doing right now. And Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. I just put Lamar up there, and Lamar's still up there as well. But this game is just the essence of Josh Allen, where when the game felt like it was over, I mean, just, TMI for me, but I had popped my sleep meds ready to go to bed. And he ended up making me fight through him to watch. I watched into the game. I didn't get to go to bed yet because he ended up shocking me and coming back and winning this, and had 247 passing yards in the fourth quarter.
That's ridiculous.
Which was more passing yards than most quarterbacks had this week in general. And shouting out, Keon Coleman deserves the praise. He looked really good in this game, and him and Allen have clearly got on the same page. Josh Palmer had a couple of big plays late in the game that helped with the game-winning drive specifically. Khalil Shakir was still making plays. This offense, even though the game started slow, it's like once they were like going into fight or flight mode, that's when it started clicking, and that's where they just need to live in that constantly.
Well, Dakota, it's been the balance the last few years of them saying, okay, we don't want to put too much on Josh's plate. We want to be able to run the ball more, control the clock, and not have Josh Allen take over. But that's the Bills' X factor, man. When they need Josh Allen, they can say, okay, the script, throw it out. Josh, just go make plays. Just go be you, be the best quarterback in the NFL, go make elite throws and really play backyard football at some points in the game, man, when he's running out to the sideline extending those plays. It was incredible, dude. The performance was incredible, and it doesn't take away from the Ravens. Listen, the Ravens are still going to be one of the best teams in the NFL, but dude, we called this defense one of the best units in the NFL, and I still think that could be the case, by the way. But it just shows what Josh Allen can do when he wants to take a game over, he absolutely can. And yeah, man, it's unfortunate for Lamar that because Lamar now feels like the guy that's starting to get the short end of these sticks in these playoff games and these now in the regular season, where he got pretty unlucky. I'd say Lamar did what he was supposed to do, put up 40 points, looked really good doing it, had once again another Lamar stat line where he's like throwing like 20 pass attempts, but he has damn near 300 yards. His yards per attempt is unbelievable. Actually, I think he was the guy who ended up leading it if he wasn't second. So, but yeah, man, what a game to cap off week 1, dude. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And yeah, to give the Ravens their dues, yeah. Lamar, it's tough because again, people will overreact, blame him, do whatever they want to do, but they scored on all 4 possessions in the first half. They score on their first possession of the second half. They then have a 3 and out. They score on their next one. They score on their next one. Then they have a 3 and out. And then the fumble. And really the end of the game is the only thing that was fully out of Lamar's hands, where the fumble happens by Derrick Henry, out of his control. And then the next drive is a conservative play called one. And, you can argue he should have tried to make a play on 3rd down or whatever, but he's basically given that one opportunity. And then they don't go for it on 4th down. So it felt a little unlucky for Lamar specifically, because of the fact that Derrick Henry's fumble ended up being the game-changing moment. But overall, one other thing for the Ravens to be really excited about, Keon Coleman broke out, but man, Zay Flowers also looked phenomenal in this game.
He did, man.
7 for 143. He was catching things short, taking it to the house, was getting open deep. Him and Lamar were in sync the entire game.
They were, and it's the yards after catch for Zach Flowers or Zay Flowers. Sorry, yeah, dude, he was really really good. And yeah, again, making those yards after catch that are so crucial. And maybe he's broken out as well, dude. And because another offense that has been missing a wide receiver 1. So yeah, I mean, it's just, listen, dude, I put none of it on Lamar, dude. If you put up 40 points on the road against the Bills, you should win that game 10 out of 10 times. You should. And it sucks that like the end of the game is going to be blamed on D-Hen, because he was so phenomenal. He was so phenomenal, but it's just, it was a critical moment, and there's blame to go around. It's the D-Hen fumble. It's John Harbaugh not going for it on 4th and 2, and it's the missed PAT. It's like the blame to go, and the defense at some point, you should be able to get a stop. It's, I blame them less because the Josh Allen factor. It's like it's going to be tough in those spots, but yeah, dude, I mean, this is just a classic 2 juggernauts. Like you said, if this was the AFC Championship, it's an absolute dream scenario, man. It's heaven if this is AFC Championship come January.
Yeah, if we get a rematch of this game, oh my gosh. I mean, that's going to feed families, and I think most NFL fans would take that in a heartbeat. A few other quick shout-outs before we wrap things up here. D-Hop, he only had 2 catches, but he had a crazy one-handed catch for a touchdown. That was fantastic.
Vintage.
It was a good throw by Lamar, but it was better
D-Hop.
Vintage D-Hop still out there doing it. And, we've touched on D-Hen, but I mean, to be honest, he almost looks slick, like slimmer, than he did before. He looked more agile. Shocking how he looked, dude. He looked like, if you had told me he was in year 4, I would have believed you.
Dude, what he doesn't get enough credit for is what he does in the offseason, man. He takes care of his body. He's one of those guys that the reports like he spends so-and-so amount of money on his body. He talked about that on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast way back in the day, or not way back in the day, a couple years ago. I'm acting like that's way back in the day. But anyways, he's a guy that really takes care of himself, and part of that's that Alabama discipline, right? But the incredible part of the Dehan story is whether he takes care of himself or not, going back to his high school days and college, he was so relied upon, man. I mean, just ran into the ground, and then he gets in the NFL, and the Titans consistently 25 to 35 carries per game. It's just the workload on his legs at this point is unreal, and he just has lost nothing. He's still the best running back in the NFL after all these years. A guy who was drafted a year after him, not to take a shot at this guy, but CMC has dealt with all his injuries, and it's like, but Dehan's still doing it and still as durable as ever. And yeah, again, he's just, at this point, he's firmly a top 10 running back ever for me. If not closer to top 5 at this point, man. Dehan is absolutely special.
Yeah, looking at the all-time yardage list, he will finish top 10 at minimum probably at the end of the season in yardage. And again, if he's not slowing down, he's going to be flying up that list. And the thing that shocks me, like your point, he's in year 10 now. And on that long touchdown run, it's again like people underestimate, the angles are poor, and then they try to turn. You just can't catch the guy. His stride at his size is ridiculous. While he's 6'2", he's listed at 6'2", 252, which is that's like edge rusher size these days. There are edge rushers smaller than that these days. Like James Pierce Jr. is like 240.
Did you see him coming into the game, dude? Walking around normal people. He literally looked like a superhuman. An alien. Yeah. Literally looked like an alien coming. And he plays running back, people. That's not normal at that position.
It's not. And again, he almost looked better this year in terms of just how like slim, quick, and powerful he still looks is insane. So both of us were predicting an offensive player of the year for him. I think he's firmly leading that right now, even with the fumble. Stats wise, all people care about anyway. But
exactly. Yeah. Don't forget about that fumble by week 18, dude. Come on.
Oh yeah, no one will remember it at all. Only other thing I wanted to shout out was on that Coleman touchdown. I just want to give him credit for that heads up play because I specifically made a note of that. Because to your point, it got tipped up, and then he made a great play on the ball to make sure that touchdown happened, which again is the difference in the game because it was in an absolutely crucial moment.
That's one of those insane screenshots, just looking at the time and the down and distance. That it's like a lot like the Patriots and Falcons Super Bowl. It's like they won that game.
They won.
What? Are you kidding me? So yeah,
and the Ravens have a long list of those now. To your point earlier, it's not great.
Sure. It's not. I saw the list. It wasn't good. Some of those I felt like were a little harsh, but it's like others. I'm like, dang, man.
Like a 10-point lead, but in the third quarter. It is interesting. I mean, it's a problem.
It's a problem. They have to fit and like, especially come January, dude. Like it's the best at that point, and you just can't do that. And imagine if this was a playoff game. Oh my, the heartbreak would have been absolutely awful.
The emotions
would have been awful. And man. It's and going back to your Keon Coleman point, it's harder to catch tipped passes, and the fact that he had the awareness that it happened. And I still don't know who Josh was trying to throw it to on that play. They were kind of all bunched up in the same area, so it's kind of tough to know who he was trying to get it to there. But either way, what a play by Keon Coleman. What a game. What a way to cap off the week 1 of NFL Sunday. And congrats to the Bills Mafia, man.
Yeah, that again, to your point, this will matter come January when it comes to playoff seeding. If these teams are to rematch in the playoffs, it'll probably be in Buffalo because of this, depending on how their seasons go. Last thing, shout out 2 guys who are probably 2 of the best. I mean, one of them is arguably the best defensive player in the NFL at this point, Kyle Hamilton, with a 93.4 grade. He did get a little dinged up in this game, which is notable. That is notable. I don't know how serious it is, but he was kind of walking off at one point. And then Ed Oliver. Was a beast in this game.
Absolutely dominant in this game.
They're the second, 4th highest graded defensive players in week 1, and they deserved it because Ed Oliver was a problem.
Yes.
He forced a fumble as well.
I'm glad we remembered to touch on Oliver and Kyle Hamilton because both were phenomenal. Yeah, Ed Oliver kind of took over the game, especially late. You know, that was part of the
Yes.
reason the Bills were able to come back late is because Ed Oliver just started to take over. And going back to Kyle Hamilton, he's one of my favorite players in the NFL. He almost saved this game, dude. He almost blocked the game-winning field
So
goal
close.
after apparently being baked up, which I honestly didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he got banged up in the game, but he's the best safety in football, one of the best defensive players in football, and the fact that he almost blocked that kick is incredible. And you could see him after almost getting the block. He's like, "Dang!" He was like, "I was this close." He knew it, man. He was like, "I was this close to getting that one, dude." So that was unfortunate. Again, man, this is why we love this game, dude. It is a game of inches, man. It's a game of inches. And every single one of these things, the play before the half, the final field goal, the PAT, like it all matters, man. It all matters.
And again, back to referencing college football a little bit, but it's just, again, I feel like you feel this a little bit less in college football, even in the best games, where it's like every tiny individual play matters almost as much as the next. And I love that. It's what makes this sport in this league so fantastic to watch. And yeah, I don't think we could have asked for a better week one. And to wrap up the Ed Oliver thing, he had a 92.7 run defense grade, which I think was the best in football in the first week. And that was, to your point, what shut down the run game at the end of the game to help get the Bills the ball back and give them the opportunity to win it. So what a game, man. What a game to wrap up the first Sunday of football. We've got Monday Night Football on right now, which is looking like it's probably going to be a pretty good one. But I have a feeling we will see these two teams again.
Yeah.
Based on how the Chiefs looked in week one,
Dude.
I don't think it's crazy to say these are the two teams to beat right now.
Well, that's why the number one seeding is like it really is. This could be the game that decides that at the end of the year because especially with the Chiefs injuries, dude, it feels like the tide is turning and the Chiefs might finally have maybe a little downward tick. Maybe that's final last words or whatever. But
when we get to playoffs and it happens all again. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, man, like you said, what a crazy game. And I do think we're going to see these teams again, man. I do think we're going to see.
I hope we do. I mean, again, if we get rematch to this level, I mean, it'll be to this level just because of these football teams.
That's
and
how these games always go, man. This is how these games always go.
But if we can get this as an AFC championship, as just NFL fans, I think most would love that.
I'm so ashamed of myself that I fell asleep, man. What an absolute disaster, dude. What a disaster. I woke up at 4 a.m. and it was absolutely devastated, man. I was like, what was I thinking, not believing in the great Josh Allen?
I know, and my wife is even watching because, Josh Allen, Haley Steinfeld, she's invested at this point, watching it all play out. And last thing we have to touch on, just because it was a big part of this game, though, was the situation with the fan. After a touchdown where the fan shoves, they're now banned from everything, which they should be, because I mean, it's one thing to like tap players on the helmet when they go by, but to straight up shove a dude's head like that is wild.
And listen, I've always thought. Like this might be a bold take, but I've always been kind of the mindset that like if you say some stuff, unless it's like really egregious, then it's fine. It's like I think players should be, okay with just moving on from it. But when you get physical with the guy, that's totally different ball game, man. Totally different ball game. When you get physical, then that means all of a sudden you could see, DeAndre Hopkins grabbing you out of the stands and beating the hell out of you. Like you can't get physical with the players, man. That is an absolute no.
Yeah, and I kind of want to see that. Let's get some Malice at the Palace going on some more. Yeah. Let fans that just want to think they can step in.
Especially when they get physical, man. Let the player go do his thing, man.
Literally. And Lamar let it happen. And again, people are trying to attack Lamar for that. And I think that's kind of ridiculous because why would you stand for that?
No, dude, you can't. No, you cannot do that. That is zero tolerance.
No, and if we had talked about the UFC thing, off camera about like letting UFC fighters fight random fans. Maybe we should do that with the NFL though, where fans that feel like they can. Let's let D-Hen and Myles Garrett just go toe to toe with random fans in the stands that feel like they want to talk some trash and get physical with them. But yeah, no place for that in the sport, and I'm glad Dude got banned for it, which is probably justifiable. So
yeah,
emotions running high, but you just like the players have to keep it in check, which is ironic because it's the type of thing you get mad at players for. Yeah,
you do as a fan as well.
Oh man, what a week one! We'll go, watch us some Monday Night Football now that we've burned
Yes,
through the first
sir.
quarter. This took a while, but a lot of football to talk about, man, and it was fun.
Yes, it was fun, man. I'm excited to cover the season, man. The game reviews were a lot of fun. And we'll be posting some clips. Excited to see how those do. Appreciate anyone who is supporting the channel. If you do like our channel and you're not letting us know, please let us know. Get in the comments, like the video, subscribe. If you're watching without subscribing, please subscribe. Please like the videos and just comment. A little positivity would be nice from all the fans that hated our rankings over the offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a few of them subscribed from that video, but yeah, I do appreciate the support we do get. But obviously, love for more people to subscribe from the views that we've been getting, and commenting. Yeah, because to be honest, we're doing this because we enjoy it, but also because we want like a segment of fans that agree with just our perspective on the game a bit, and avoiding all the hot take stuff that's out there. That's kind of the point of this. So I'd love some comments too, and just feedback in general on what you like, what you'd want to see us do if you had other ideas, and what you think would be interesting or whatnot. We'd love to hear it. So, but still appreciate the support. But yeah, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, get that little bell so you know when we go live. But we appreciate all the support. And here's to wrapping up week 1 tonight with Monday Night Football, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Until next time.
Thanks for talking ball with us.